We're inviting you to stay with us this morning. Good morning to you, Lydia. How are you?
Good morning, Paris. I am doing well.
Are
I'm
you
doing well,
sounding
excited.
strong and powerful this morning, as
Oh, well,
always?
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I feel strong and powerful this morning.
Ah,
So,
uh-oh.
looking forward to the day. And I want to start off by saying happy birthday to Alindria Johnson.
All
I
right.
saw,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you for saying that. Yes. Yeah. Happy
Yep.
birthday to
So,
Alindra.
Lindria, you enjoy your special day, and we're both, we've both been in the pocket for women here at the station, along with the KUA. We'll be listening to her tomorrow. So, excited about all that we've got going, Paris. But yeah, like you say, a really interesting day, and I am going to have our guest this
Mm-hmm.
morning on
Mm-hmm.
Diversity of Thought, Brian Combs, who is the director of the Office of Agricultural Statistics, the Statistics Board with the USDA. So he will be on to talk to us. Um, the reason I wanted to have him on and just thought it would be interesting for folks out there in the listening audience. We've had ranchers on the station. We've had farmers come on to the station. We talk about black farmers quite a bit and some of the issues that they've been going through. Well, this gentleman is responsible for the statistics around agriculture in this country. So the information, if you could compare it to the BLS report, the Bureau of Labor Statistics
Mm-hmm.
report that comes out around jobs, equivalent to that, but for agriculture. But we'll get into that in the next 30 minutes. I'll get him on the line,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll tell us all about it. But before then, this first segment, I wanted to get a little bit more in depth into African Americans, blacks in the jobs report, and really kind of break that down a little bit. Had some callers last week call in and ask about some issues or concerns about patents, which I'd actually gone over and had a show that I did on that back in February of this year. And so I went back over my notes and wanted to talk about that a bit this morning. And the sources I use Forbes, Black Enterprise, and the Emerald Book. And if you guys haven't looked into Paris, are you familiar with the Emerald Book?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, it's a resource that's been put together specifically for African Americans. I mean, so you can
Okay.
look into it. It's the Emerald Handbook of Ethical Finance and
Mm.
Corporate Social Responsibility. So it's out there, and you can Google it, and they usually will have information around the economy and finance as it pertains to the African American community. So check that out. Check that out if you don't know about it, or if you do know about it.
Yeah,
Maybe you're
I'd
not
love to get that. Love,
pulling the
love, love.
information
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
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 the
yeah,
Emerald Book.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
when we looked at the June 2026 jobs report last week, and the headline numbers tell one story, but the breakdown by race tells a story underneath. And the unemployment for white workers sits at 3.6% along that 4% line, and Asian workers at around the same 3.6%, and Hispanic workers at 4.8. But for black workers, not surprising, it's 6.6%, nearly double the white unemployment rate. So, and when you break it down even further, the gap sharpens. Black men are at 7.2%, the highest of any major demographic group, while black women are at 6.1%. Compare that to, again, the white men at 3.7 and white women at 3.5. And you see the same pattern we've been naming all year. The labor market is expanding, but not evenly. And when we look at the industry breakdown, manufacturing is steady overall, but black unemployment remains higher because hiring pipelines still favor legacy networks. Hmm.
Yes.
Information and tech, one of the lowest unemployment sectors, yet black workers remain underrepresented, meaning fewer hires and slower mobility. Healthcare and social assistance, strong job growth, but black workers are concentrated in lower wage roles for the most part, not the higher skill positions driving the expansion. And then transportation and warehousing, solid gains, but automation and restructuring continue to hit black men. This is where black men get hit the hardest. Government, stable, but hiring freezes in some regions, slow entry for first generation applicants. So those coming out of college. Professional and business services, high churn and or turnover, and black workers face the steepest barriers to reentry after layoffs. So this is, like I say, a breakdown by industry, and maybe you guys can, relate to this or have some information out there that you may know of that you can share with us. 713-668-1230, 713-668-1230. And I wanted to give the number out early because I'm on till 11 this morning, and so I'll be covering this information with you, but I don't want to miss your points of view as we move through through this time. So when you put race and industry side by side, the story becomes unmistakable. Black talent is present, but the pathways into stable, high-growth sectors aren't equally open. These numbers aren't just statistics, they're signals. They tell us who's getting access to opportunity, who's getting stuck in lower mobility roles, and who's being pushed to the margins of hiring, promotion, and retention. And they echo the same story structural story we've covered in conversations about patents, ownership, and innovation. The brilliance is there. The systems around it aren't always built to recognize or reward it. So that brings me to another thought in this same vein. And there's an article out there, again, in Forbes, about why small businesses aren't hiring. And it says they can't find qualified workers. Okay. So the current Forbes report brings us to what small business owners are seeing on the ground. After everything we've talked about, skills gaps, shifting job requirements, and a changing workforce, this reporting captures the real-time frustration that employers are saying that they simply can't find qualified workers, even when they raise pay or offer training. It's the labor shortage showing up in everyday operations, and I wanted to get folks' thoughts on that because we've discussed retraining, upskilling, or parallel adjacent skilling for roles that are out there, and to that end, I am going to have someone on from Houston City College. They got a substantial contribution for their skills, their trade program, and so I'll have them on to discuss that. And want to know what you guys think about that. So they're saying that there are some jobs out there with small businesses, but they can't find skilled workers. And I've heard that on the corporate side, they've been saying that as well, about workers and why the jobs are there. And so, want to get your thoughts on, um, some things that you may have been experiencing, seen in the community, and what your thoughts on how to get this shored up. What can we do? What can we do? Are we not doing our part to get up to get qualified for these roles? So want to talk to you guys about that too. And Paris, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, got a couple actually.
All right.
This conversation comes at a critical time, as you're pointing out
Mm-hmm.
right now, and I was listening to. There's so much meat on what you have to say. I would like to hear from some of our small business people because, ironically, as we talk
Mm-hmm.
about this whole matter of, and this ties into Lisa Cook and her work. You just got a treasure trove of information here, and I'm saying that
Oh yeah.
I'm saying that to cover myself as I spray the room here of a couple of points that may come up today. One of the reasons that Lisa Cook was so important. Trump has been after getting her out of there. And when we talk about Lisa Cook, it's important to recognize the very important work that she did talking about the economic contributions. You and I touched on this the other day. We've touched on it before. We've done a
Mm-hmm.
profile on Lisa. You and I each have separately talked about her and her contributions. Her work proves that America's economy loses billions of dollars when black Americans were left out of the invention process. She proved that leaving out women and minorities hurts everybody. And she said if these groups had the chances as that white men have, America's overall economy would be much larger than it is today. And she goes on to legitimate that research by going over the history of patents and how people had their patents taken away from them through violence, many of them. And
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
interesting, that she has been at the forefront of championing so that uh, the country at large has a broader view. She's been at the forefront of putting women's faces and names on their role in our economy. And she talks about how violence and desegregation destroyed that. Now, that, for me, in my mind, having looked at some of these things you're discussing, that goes back to where we are today. And I want to bring that up to the
Mm-hmm.
visa, to this matter of visa. And I'm hearing you say that there are employers who are talking about they can't find jobs. They can't find workers,
They can't find qualified workers.
qualified workers.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what the workers are saying now with this H-1B visa. They're saying you're bringing in workers to replace us. Remember that old line from Charlottesville talking about bringing in
Mm-hmm.
workers? Well, yeah, they are, but there are people up in arms now in the MAGA coalition who are
Right.
now saying, wait a minute, all of the good stuff is going to the Indians, to the people from the country of India, because
Mm-hmm.
they are being their visas are up, as our college students, they're saying, can't get jobs coming out of college. So this is a critical touch point here.
Yeah.
We talk about immigration, but on the labor end, we talk about not having jobs, and some of our people uh, had the thought in their minds that, oh wait, yeah, these foreign workers are taking black folks' jobs, but they were primarily talking
Right.
about labor. They were saying some black man could have that job. What they're missing, it seems, is the people who are really talking about immigration are talking at a higher level, and they are saying that these people are coming in on these special worker visas, and they are taking jobs, but they're in their calculation, they're taking them from this white Americans that they're worried about.
Well, yes, I agree with that. I think that the story gets really convoluted, and after the guest, we'll talk about. I'll come back to patents because you're right about Lisa Cook, and there's some history around that I wanted to reshare briefly, and we'll come back to the patents part of it.
Yeah.
But I believe that you're right. But the stories are conflicting because on one end you want to end these worker visas, and we're talking about for technical people on the higher end of technology and all of that. But then on the other end, you're saying you don't have qualified people.
Yeah.
Your president is saying that there are certain things that we can't do. We can't build planes.
Yes.
Like these people. So you're really talking out of both sides of your mouth because I believe that our government and these corporations know not that the corporations are responsible for the work visas, but saying that they know that they need this workforce. They need to get these younger college graduates in order to be able to get these people up to speed. We need to get people upskilled. We have all of these things that we need to do to prepare the workforce for the future, and we know that this work needs to be done because of the technology. But then on the other end, you've got this whole component of automation. And that's why I believe that they speak with forked tongues, as the Native Americans would say. And that there's some things that they're trying to convolute the story.
Yes.
And create this dissension there between us, which is going on in all aspects of our society, as we know. But I think that you see how the stories contradict.
Sure.
The work visas. We want to take these away. We want to send people back, to Asia. We want to, send people back to South Asia. You've overstayed, but yet and still, this work needs to be done, and you don't have these people ready to do the work.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the president said that, didn't he? He said that.
And the president has said that.
Yeah.
And then you got this story with AI. And so it's like, okay, y'all are all over the place. But what I do see for sure is that it doesn't appear as though the people who are involved are being considered. And I think the citizenry, the citizens of our country need to be considered, in my opinion, need to be considered first by the government that's supposedly representing us and thinking about all of these things and addressing all of these things. So, what have you heard something out there about how all I hear is stories about how this is affecting everybody, but I hear information about how money's being given to Houston City College for the trades program, and I know that they're giving money in other areas as well, but for upskilling. So you have that narrative, but then there's this big gap that's there that needs to. If we already have people in place, why are we trying to necessarily send them back right now? Is there something that could be worked, some sort of plan that could be worked with these individuals that are already here, and to bridge that gap between the citizens, the U.S. citizens that are trying to get to the point where they can be productive in these new roles, and the people that are already in the roles to get this done. I don't get it. I do get it. I get it because it's like I really think that you're trying to figure out, and I don't know, I'm being a pessimist here. I really think you're trying to figure out, use the technology to figure out how to replace all of us.
And that's what that is the focal point for some of these college for some of these recent graduates from college, and also workers who are having their wages suppressed with the influx of immigrants on these special visas. Now I see that the administration is responding to it. It's escalating what it calls its crackdown on immigration-related fraud. And this is the first major investigation into it, what they call perm visa abuse, and labor trafficking and the like. But so they're going on. So, if they follow their usual form, they will carve out a special segment of that population. Because I noticed that they are talking about how these frauds being used to commit trafficking. I don't know that is the major problem that American workers are having with it right now, because this relates more to skilled foreign workers. The H-1 visa is a non-immigrant work visa, and it allows companies in the U.S. to hire highly skilled foreign workers in specialty occupations for a time of 3 years, and then that can be extended. You see, and what the people here are saying is that you pay those people lower wages, right? So it affects them in so many ways, and and they say there are people working in medical facilities and doctors' offices that are actually putting people in harm's way. So no, I mean, these things are real. I mean, all of this is tied around immigration. I think that a part of me feels like the reason that they don't want to fix immigration is because they need that there to cause dissension again between people. I think so. And ironically, maybe it's not ironic when we look at American history, tension is built into any discussion about labor, about almost any subject you name.
Absolutely.
Right? The tension is built in by race. It's compounded by race, right?
Right.
Because when we talk about the wealth gap, who does it affect mostly? Most of the people at the bottom in this society are black, brown, and other people, right? So when you bring that up, people say, oh, yes, they're talking about race. But the point of the matter is we can't get a fair picture on this economy unless we talk about how the people are doing at the very bottom, and the middle class, the people who make the engine hum. Here's a statistic for you. The industry most heavily utilizing H-1B visas is the tech industry, which accounts for roughly to 60 to 70% of all the new applications in recent years. Now, other top industries include consulting and professional services, engineering and manufacturing, healthcare. And I know you're gonna have to get out.
I'm gonna have to pop out quick. But that stat doesn't surprise me at all. As a matter of fact, I would think that would be the case, and because the technology component, a lot of that can be done offshore. A lot of those professional services and those activities, the lawyers, the accountants, and some of these other people, they can offshore that work too. But for the most part, it's a lot harder to do that. A lot of times you want people that are in the country working on that, or someone in the country that's a bridge to someone that's working offshore. I'm sure. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So that doesn't surprise me at all. Okay. Well, I am going to pop out for a minute, Paris. If you can
Pop on. We got you.
And I'll be right back with Brian.
If you come back, we'll be here waiting on you to keep it popping, okay? All right. We are the source. I am Paris. That's Lydia Flanagan. She's got quite a show lined up for you this morning on diversity of thought. We want you to stay here with us as we delve into this conversation about the visas, about the distribution of wealth in this country, about the labor force, really, where the jobs are going, who's getting hired, and what are these companies doing, these corporations, how are they dealing with the employment picture in America? How are they contributing either to its improvement, or how are they making matters worse, perhaps, for workers? And what workers are being affected here? You know, when we have our conversations here, it's interesting if you followed the flow. When we began this conversation almost 4 years ago in earnest, we had callers and they were talking about people coming across the border and taking jobs, and you know, we lined up in our accustomed places. Some saying, well, workers here could do those jobs. And then others saying, no, workers here aren't going to do the job because that job would require you to reduce the standard of living that you already had. You're not going out in the field and work for the same pay that a seasonal worker is, who's going to come here, work, and then go back to Mexico, presumably. And then come back for another growing season. You're not going to do that. And so besides to raise the workers, to raise the pay on those kinds of jobs would be a burden on the growers, they argue. And well, it turns out that some of these jobs we're talking about, they will be automated. Many of them will be automated anyway. What will not be automated, at least to the same extent that we're talking about with people who do manual labor, is the jobs in the tech industry. And those visas are going to people in the tech industry, those highly skilled technical workers, and they are coming from other countries. So we were having, early on in this process, we were arguing about people taking jobs that are likely going to be phased out, and in some instances already have been phased out anyway. So we'll continue to have discussions about that. And we've got Ms. Lisa D. Cook, and we spoke about Lisa Cook earlier, as you heard both Lydia and I have, and we've got other economists that we're going to talk with, but she has a very special guest this morning.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
Hi, I'm JJ Walls with Sunnyside Dental, and yes, it's now been over 30 years that we've been providing quality dental care for our patients in the Houston area. It's now come to my attention that many of you that want to come to Sunnyside Dental have Medicare plans that we don't accept. Hold up, that has got to change. Sunnyside Dental is now accepting most Medicare dental plans. WellCare, Liberty, United Healthcare, Cigna, Kelsey Care Advantage, Amerigroup, Aetna, and many more. We're getting on board. Call Sunnyside Dental at 713-738-1999. If you have Medicare and would like to receive the personal touch provided by Sunnyside Dental, call us at 713-738-1999. We look forward to helping you achieve the smile that you can't wait to share with the world.
Got Medicare dental benefits? Call Sunnyside Dental, 713-738-1999.
Diversity of thought with Lydia Flanagan this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Lydia Flanagan.
Well, we're back, everyone. And again, special guest, Mr. Brian Combs. And he is the Director of the Office of Agricultural Statistics Board with the USDA. And he oversees how the agency releases its official data and connects with producers and stakeholders across the country. He's led major estimation and dissemination work, including the Census of Agriculture, and he served as Chief of Staff at, again, I'll say NASS, I'll use that acronym again, guiding daily operations and communication. With more than 20 years at the agency, starting in the New York field office, conducting livestock and dairy surveys, Brian brings deep experience in how agricultural data is collected, reviewed, and shared. And just a quick note for listeners and callers that may call in, Brian won't be able to answer policy or market prediction questions, just FYI there. But he can speak to the data, the process, and how these numbers support the broader food system. A lot of folks only know about farming reports because of that famous scene in Trading Places. The one where the orange crop report sends the whole market into chaos. I may be dating myself here, but I don't think I am so much. For most people, that's their introduction to the idea that agricultural data even exists, let alone that it moves markets, shapes decisions, and affects everyday life. But in the real world, those reports don't come from movie magic. They come from the National Agricultural Statistics Service and the Agricultural Statistics Board, the teams responsible for collecting, verifying, and releasing the official numbers on crops, livestock, acreage, grain stocks, and the Census of Agriculture. So starting from that pop culture reference point, we'll get into the interview. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, and thank you for having me, Lydia.
You're welcome. Are you familiar with that scene from Trading Places?
Yes, ma'am, I am. We actually, in our lockup space, we actually have that as a little bullet in the 1980s when that came out on our timeline of how lockup has progressed through the years. So, while we don't do an actual orange juice report like they have in the movie, it's very similar to what we do. So it's pretty cool to be recognized in a movie of our small little world of ag statistics.
Yeah, because a lot of people wouldn't even, really know to what extent you guys exist over there and the roles you play. So for listeners that may not be familiar, what is the Agricultural Statistics Board, and what role does it play in producing the USDA's official agricultural data?
That's a great question. So the Ag Statistics Board was actually formed for various reasons, but primarily so that one person couldn't control what number was being put out. As you mentioned, these data that we collect from producers and then produce out in our official USDA estimates drive a lot of different things, whether that's markets, decision-making, all of those. The Ag Statistics Board serves as an independent unit so that a grouping of experts in that data can come together, review all of the information, and make sure that the number coming out of USDA is one, independent of any influence of one singular individual, and also that all aspects of data and information associated with that number have been reviewed before that number goes out. With the ultimate goal of us putting out a number that truly represents what's going on out there in the farming community.
Okay, and we'll really need you to break this down for us here. So, can you give us a quick description or brief breakdown of the ag data?
Yes. So we do a few different things. So as you mentioned, we do the Census of Agriculture. So just like the population census, we go out and count all facets of agriculture. So that is probably the most comprehensive source of information we have on U.S. agriculture. So we do that every 5 years, and it captures data from all farm and ranching operations that produce and sell, or would normally produce and sell at least $1,000 of agricultural products. Because it includes operations of all size, it provides the only complete picture of what the U.S. agriculture production structure and trends On top of that, we have what we consider our agricultural estimates program. So those are typically ran on a annual basis, some of them biannually, but those come out at different times. So today, actually, part of my staff is actually in lockup this morning, which I'll be after this call. I'll be joining them for the release of our crop production report, which comes out monthly. We have livestock. Cattle on feed numbers that come out monthly, various timing on those, some annual reports, quarterly reports, but that fill in the gaps in between those census cycles that occur every 5 years.
Okay. So for everyday citizens who may not follow the agricultural reports, how does the Ag Statistics Board influence the food they buy, the prices they see, and the stability of the food system they depend on? And what's one thing you wish the general public understood about how USDA shapes decisions across communities and businesses?
Right. So if we start with that census data, a lot of that is used by many people that are doing more long-term planning. We can see trends in industries change or growing regions change over time. So that might influence, what products you're seeing in your grocery store. Is there, new markets or new commodities that are now available that weren't before? Some of those would be, like I said, more long-term things. So that could get into, food manufacturers looking at, okay, where can we get a supply of food? Maybe we can build a plant in this area that would help us distribute that commodity, to more areas than what it initially was. I think farmers are using this data. They're looking at, the price of commodities. As those change, that might make some decisions on what they want to plant for that year. Policymakers here at USDA are looking at that, a whole host of this data to determine, what kind of policy improvements they want to make to better support the farmers, or, if we're seeing declines in a particular industry or moving in a different direction, maybe the current policy is not the most beneficial for making sure those farmers, have the best disaster recovery options available to them, or price support options, some of those type things. Obviously, your congressional leaders are looking at that when they decide, how to allocate some funding for various things.
Okay. So from a producer standpoint, we know the politicians are looking at it, but from a producer standpoint, how does the board's work help farmers and ranchers make decisions about planning, herd management, and long-term planning? And how do their survey responses and census information ultimately translate into the USDA reports that shape the market?
That's a great question. And really what it does is provide the producer an equal footing. If you think about agriculture, there's a lot of large firms that maybe have more information as they collect, grain from farmers. Some of the grain operators have quite a bit of information there that they may have an advantage to than just an individual producer on what they see. So as we put these numbers out, it's really creates a transparent environment so that producers can also see what's happening with supply, what's happening with prices, all of those things, and that information goes out at a equal time. So we announced that it's going to be released at noon. Like for instance, today's report is going to be released at 12 o'clock. Everyone has that information available to them at the same time. So producers have that, industry has that, others have that. They're going to be using that to interpret and make decisions. So the big benefit for the producers is it gives them the information that some of these other larger firms may have a little bit more insight to than what the individual producer does coming just from their operation.
Okay. So now trying to put you on the spot, but could you give us a brief example of a couple of the questions that are asked on the survey or the census information request?
Sure. A lot of the questions are very similar between the census and the survey. So we're typically going to ask how many acres you operate, what you're producing on those acres. So are you, doing crops or livestock? And if you're doing crops, how many acres of corn, for example, or wheat, or the various other commodities could be grown on that, fruits, vegetables. We pretty much cover the gambit of that. information there. If you have livestock items, we're going to be asking, if it's cattle, how many head of cattle do you have? And so a lot of those type questions.
And how connected are our U.S. farmers? Is this information communicated monthly electronically? How are the responses going out, and how are they coming back to you all?
Okay, so we typically start with either one of two ways that surveys get started. So we'll typically either mail out a survey form to producers. As technology has improved, we do have the option to report online, and several of our producers across the country take advantage of that. It is probably the most efficient way to respond to us. So it eliminates some of the questions that don't pertain to your operation very quickly, especially with a longer survey like the Census of Agriculture. You can cut that down from what might be 20 plus pages down to 5 to 6 pages very quickly by doing it online. So sometimes those will go out with just a code where you can go on and access your survey. If producers, don't fill it out either through the mail or online, then we typically have a phoning period where we will call and try to get some information through them over the phone. And then it's kind of a third way that we do collect data is from time to time we will send someone out to visit those operations to get some information.
Okay.
But most of the data is primarily gathered either through the mail, online, or through phoning.
Oh, wow. So yeah, that may slow your process down a little bit, right? Insofar as getting that information in to get back out to the producers.
Yes. So most of the data that we collect on an annual basis, most of that gets collected and turned around within a few days to a few weeks from the time we send out a survey till we put a release back out. So it's probably about a month, roughly, for the full cycle from when we mail to publish for most items. If you look at the Census of Agriculture, that is a much larger endeavor, which it takes us about a year and a half to from the time we start mailing to get all that data back in, processed, and then put out a final report of that data.
So the Census of Agriculture, because that was my next question, it gives, and correct me if I'm wrong, it gives a complete ground level picture of how land is used and how farms operate. So how does the board incorporate the census findings into its broader statistical work?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the way I like to think about it is every 5 years we have this very large data collection that gives us two pillars, kind of the snapshot of the year and then the snapshot 5 years later. And we can start looking at how our surveys are tracking. Is it sending the same trend, or are we seeing increases, decreases? Once something changes there dramatically in the census, then that's when we go back and look at our programs to see, is there something we were missing? Is there some area that we need to improve upon? So that really drives how we look at conducting surveys for the next 5 years out until we get that other kind of benchmark of the census year.
Okay. And that's a great segue to this question. How does the board ensure that its estimates and forecasts are accurate and reflective of real conditions? And do those numbers that you're reporting get revised up and down a lot like the Bureau of Labor Statistics does with their monthly report?
Yes, that's a great question. So as we go and collect data, we trust our producers that they're telling us the best information that they have, that they're sharing with us, that they're providing good quality information to us. There's also a lot of various administrative data within USDA, outside of USDA, that we're also looking at and tracking. So particularly if we think about something like FSA, where producers are certifying acres through them, we're comparing that data to the results we're seeing. We also use some technology, so some geospatial data to compare how things are looking. Is it matching up, or are there things that we're seeing that are a little bit different? Usually that data fits together together pretty well. When there is something that looks a little off, that's when we're going to dig in a little bit more. We might go back and look at some of the producer reported data, and there potentially, maybe there was an error there. Maybe we had some kind of translation issue as it came in. Maybe a zero was dropped off the number or something that we might be able to find and identify. Like, oh, okay, we were able to catch that, so that you see the full picture.
Okay. And so, like, I know you're not going to talk about policy, but this is how policy could possibly affect the numbers, the timing in policy, right? So this information is going out yearly. I know I heard you say some of it happens monthly, but what if something happens in the markets or out there in the farming world that's affecting the producers mid-report or at the end of the report, 3/4 of the way through, and then that the numbers are going to be affected? How is something like that handled? I mean, do you just wait till the next year, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's actually a great question, and we do see this from time to time. Probably some of the most common in this is a weather event occurs. So when we send our surveys out so that everybody's reporting the same thing, we typically have a reference date associated with that. So it may be, tell us as of July 1, whatever the question, how many acres did you have? What do you expect the yield to be? Whatever the questions are on that survey refers to that date. Well, let's say that the producer gets that piece of mail on, July 2nd. They tell us what happened July 1, and July 5, there's a flood or some other type of weather event that impacts that crop.
A hurricane.
Typically, hurricane. I mean, it could be a multitude of things that could happen that we hope that we don't wish for, but they do occur. At that point, we have the opportunity to go back out and resurvey if we need to. So that's something you'll typically see from us. So if there is an event that happens after that survey's kind of in the works, we will typically communicate out along with the report release. Like, we acknowledge that a hurricane has definitely impacted a large area of whatever that might be, whatever crop. And we will be reaching back out to producers. And that does two things for us. One, that gives us a opportunity for those producers to tell us how bad that adverse weather event was. And then it also lets us get that updated information the producer may not have been anticipating when they initially filled out that form.
Okay. So that's a part of your process that's built in. That's not just something that is done ad hoc.
Well, I would say we do it ad hoc as those disasters occur, but we have some pretty good planning or pretty good operational plans for when we need to implement that.
Okay.
And
all right.
I guess we hope we don't have to use those very often.
Exactly. The data shows clear generational shifts in agriculture, from the rising average age of farmers to who's entering the field and who's staying. Based on the latest trends, what does the census tell us about how the makeup of the American farmer is changing, and what those shifts mean for the future of U.S. agriculture?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is some of the probably the most interesting data that we do see from the census, because that's the only place we typically gather that to be able to track, what is happening with the average age of producers. So what we have seen for many census cycles is that average age of producers ticks up slightly. It's not always just a 5-year change. It's usually some increment of a year and a fraction of a year. The latest census actually showed the same trend that we've been seeing. That did pick up about a year in the average age. One of the interesting things we did see some increases in new and beginning farmers. So those are people that are just getting engaged into farming. So they still have some older folks involved with that, but we are seeing some increases in those new and beginning farmers, which is good to see for the future of farming.
Okay, and a part of your question is you'll know if it's generational from father to son, or if it's just a whole new individual that's new as a producer coming into the market as well.
We track some of both of those. We don't always know down to the very specifics that is it a father or son. We may know. We kind of ask if they are related to the household that they consider. You're right. So we know some of that information, and then we can also track, how long they've been engaged with farming. We ask some age range or some, how long have you operated this operation or any operation? So we have some tracking of that, of how many years they've been involved with farming.
Okay. Getting a little bit more specific here about the producers, and if you have any numbers that you could share with us from the last census in regards to the question that we were just discussing about passing down the farms from the family, and or how does the NASS, again, the National Agricultural Statistics Service, ensure that Black farmers and ranchers are represented in its surveys and the Census of Agriculture? And why is that representation important for producing accurate national data?
Yes, that's a great question. So we want to ensure that we count every farm and ranch. So we work with various groups. So any commodity groups, let's say, if you have a particular producer group that you're engaged with, we do everything we can to reach out to those groups, try to have them encourage folks to sign up to be counted for the Census of Ag. So we do a pretty good push for that, which is actually not too far away. We'll probably be getting started with that a little later this fall into the winter to make sure we get producers signed up so they can be counted. So we do that outreach. We'll try to get on programs such as yours and just try to explain what Census is. So if somebody is, a farmer out there hasn't heard of us, hasn't been getting our surveys, let's be sure we get them signed up so they can be counted in future censuses, so that we can cover all of the great things that farmers and ranchers around the country are doing out there. That's what we really want to do, is make sure their voices is heard and represented in the numbers. So another thing we'll do is we can kind of see where we have gaps, as we know there from some of that administrative data. So with the beef checkoff data, perhaps we can look at that and see, okay, we don't have quite the numbers that we would expect in this area. We'll do more targeted outreach in some of those areas to make sure that those producers know they can sign up to be counted, and make sure we get their operations represented.
That's awesome. That's one of the main reasons why I want to have you on today. We've had some African American ranchers, farmers, under the producer hat, I guess that you would call it there, come on and talk to us about their business and how they're making it work. And numbers are always a good thing to help them kind of make sure that they're on track with what they're doing. So what kinds of outreach or data collection approaches, help NASS connect with Black farmers and ranchers, and just farmers and ranchers overall, especially in regions where agricultural operations may be smaller or more dispersed?
Yes, I think the biggest thing that we can do is try to engage with those communities, whether it is through the commodity groups, through extension, through some partnerships with our other USDA agencies. So the FSA offices or NRCS offices the producers may be going into. We try to get materials when the census is coming along out to those areas. Also to communicate with those other USDA staff that, hey, the census is coming. You may have some producers come in asking questions about it. Make sure they have an appropriate contact at NASS, so if they can get those questions to us quickly, and we can explain, what the purpose of the census is, why these surveys are important to the producers. And as you mentioned, the most important thing is so that we can count and accurately reflect what's happening in those rural communities around the country where those producers are residing.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, for those of you out there that are listening, our guest this morning is Brian Combs, who's the director of the Office of the Agricultural Statistics Board for the USDA. And he is with us this morning. I know a lot of you that are connected with producers out there, farmers, ranchers, people that are thinking about the business and getting into it. This gentleman is responsible for the collection of the information that gets dispersed, that gets collected and dispersed in order to help you make great decisions about the business overall. So, Brian, NASA's latest acreage and grain stocks report shows notable shifts. Corn plantings are down by 3%, soybeans are up by 5%, and cotton is up by 6%, along with increases in stored grain across several commodities. From the board's perspective, how should producers and the public read these year-to-year changes, and how do these numbers help describe the supply side of crops that eventually become everyday foods like cereal or pasta?
Yeah, I think those are going to shift from year to year. I think what that does is give producers an idea of what prices they should expect once you see kind of where all the plantings come out. Obviously, as we go through the growing season, there's some other changes that will occur there that you'll start seeing what production numbers are because just because acreage has increased, that initially indicates that there may be more production out there. But there's a lot of other factors that are unknown throughout the growing season, whether it's weather, what yields are going to be that have some impact on that. So it's really not necessarily a one snapshot. You kind of have to track those numbers through that growing season to see what the ultimate impact is. But I think it, like I said, gives producers some information once they initially see the acreage on what they might expect for prices for the season, and then they can make their next planning decisions based off of that. And then, like I said, those may shift a little bit based on some of the other things as you go along in the growing season.
Okay. What safeguards are in place to protect the confidentiality of the data that the farmers and the ranchers provide, especially when the board is preparing national and state level estimates?
Yeah, so that's a great question. That is one of the things that we hold probably as one of our highest standards, is that the protection of individuals' information is always protected. We are actually bound by law, and all of our employees at NAS have to sign an agreement stating that we've reviewed those laws, and there is a penalty of jail time and some pretty hefty fines if we are to willingly disclose any individual's information that is reported to us. So we take that with the utmost, the utmost importance. That if you report something to us, it will remain confidential, and we will only put out numbers that have been tallied as a whole, and then once the numbers are tallied, we go back in aggregate, and we go back and double check that to make sure that there's nothing in the information that we're putting out, whether it be at a state or a county level, that would disclose the identity of an individual farm. So if you look through some of our products, you'll notice that there may be occasionally numbers not listed, or numbers listed as a D or something like that, denoting that there's no number there. So in many of those cases, there is data there, but we're unable to publish that information because it may expose who an individual producer, and that is the last thing we want to do is willingly do that. So we, like I said, that's the utmost importance to us, is to protect the identity and keep it confidential of those that have reported to us.
Okay. So for producers, researchers, and community members who use the USDA data, what do you think is the most important thing to understand about how the board's work supports the larger food system?
I think probably the most important thing is that this data is very useful. It's a very data is a big commodity these days, and there's a lot of very important work that can be done. And if you look around or you ask, maybe it's your extension agent, maybe they have helped put together a budget or some type of production sheet or something like that to help you make some decisions very quickly. If you start talking to them and asking them where they're getting some of that information, a lot of them are actually using multiple of the data products that are put out through NAS and through the Ag Statistics Board to help them develop those so they can get in the producer's hands. Many times we are a couple steps away from the producer, so we may not be the primary source that they go to initially get that information. They can be picking it up through some other method, whether that's a local ag publication that maybe reshares some of our information from our reports that's pertinent to their area of the country, or like I said, those extension agents. There's also a lot of probably uses that folks don't readily see. I think I'm always surprised when folks reach out with data questions, because you never know who's going to be asking some questions. So one of the interesting ones that I always bring up is auto manufacturer reached out to us with some questions about data because they wanted to make sure that they had an adequate supply of trucks around the country when they thought farmers would be in a position to go out and purchase that new truck or new pieces of equipment and things like that. So those are always interesting to hear how not something you immediately think of, but there's a lot of users that just you don't necessarily think of off the surface.
And AI is affecting everyone. How is it affecting your group, your team, and has it been integrated into your process and or on the way? And how is that progressing? How is that working for you?
That's a good question too. So at the present, we are moving very slowly with AI. While we think it has a lot of opportunities, there's also some kind of concerns with just how new technology integrates, and we want to make sure that whatever we're doing is not going to cause issues with producer confidentiality, impact, unintended impacts on the actual statistical processes that are behind the scenes and the methodology. Some of the early areas that we're looking at is how can we more efficiently process some of the data using those tools. So we're venturing out in some very early research in that area. One of the other exciting areas that we're looking at is how can we use AI to better surface data back to users. So our already published data, how can we have it make it easier for data users to find data, maybe to chart or map that data more efficiently. Some of those type things. So I think that will probably be some of the first that you see. But at the present, we're very early and kind of exploring how that might integrate. But I think there's a lot of very exciting opportunities for the future as everyone gets a little bit more comfortable and we understand the technology a little more.
No, absolutely. Any callers out there? If you were on hold as we were going through the interview, please feel free to give us a call. He's got a little bit more time for us, 713-668-1230, 713-668-1230. But our producer, Paris Eley, is on the line, Brian, and he has a question for you.
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Combs, for setting me up for this question. You talked about opportunities, and it sounds like a good segue to me to ask you a more standard question for me, but certainly for some of the audience out there. You talked about the influence of AI. What kind of skills do people need now to have the kind of job that you have? What is there an entry level position, and what is the size of your staff now? And how does one get into that? What is the special qualifications for that, other than being good at numbers, I guess, and charts?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, so we actually employ a lot of statisticians, ag economists. We're seeing some new fields that are kind of our new college graduates. Some of the more recent people that we've hired have a background in data science, which is getting really big, and that's kind of helping bridge some of this gap between AI and what we do on a numbers side. But as you said, typically it's folks that are good mathematics degrees or good in math statistics that they kind of land in this area. And it's interesting that you bring that up. We're actually in the process of trying to do some hiring, so we're looking to onboard some probably new and recent graduates. So if you know people that are looking for some jobs out of school or have that skill set, please tell them to keep a watch on USA Jobs. We hope to have some announcements out pretty soon to fill some positions as we gear up for the 2027 census that is fastly approaching. As far as numbers, we're about 500 staff right now that work for us at Mass.
Okay, very good, very good. I can tell them I know Lydia, and she's got the hookup. Okay, thank you.
And Brian, give us the website information for NAS quickly, if you could.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if anyone's interested in finding the numbers or any other information, that website is www.nass.usda.gov.
Okay. And can you tell us what kind of information we'll find on the website there?
Right. There'll be a multitude of information that is out on the website. So you can find a link there where you can sign up to be counted if you're not currently getting surveys. You also have access to all of our data products. So all the releases, there's a release calendar on there. So I don't think I mentioned it, but all the products that or all the reports that we put out, all the data that's released, we put out a calendar typically in about October that will set the date and time for the releases for the next year. So that's available out there, so you can see when and how to access the reports that may be of interest to you and when they'll come out. We also have a guide to products and services out there. That's an interesting read if you're not familiar with all the things we do. It gives kind of a quick summary of all the various reports when they come out and what's included within those.
What about information that producers who haven't really been participating with this and may have been interested? Is there any startup information for them that they can access on this site in order to get comfortable and get started?
Yes, ma'am. There is. We have an About NAS section on the website. So under that section, you'll find a lot of the information. You'll find information on our confidentiality agreement with producers that talks a little bit about how we protect that data when it comes in, and that it won't be shared outside of NAS, and that we're only using it for these statistical purposes. It's not going to be then used for some type of regulatory activity on them if they report to us. It'll also talk a little bit about how to use some of the online reporting systems if they're in surveys and how to do that. And it'll also have contact information. So if they're unsure about something or unable to find what they might be looking for, it'll give the names and contact information, emails, and telephone numbers to several of our staff, depending on what area of interest they might have. If they're looking for specific numbers on, say, livestock, they'll have contact specifically for that. And then if they have general questions, there's some numbers that they can reach out that they would actually find probably me or someone on my staff that would be able to help them in a general way to get them to the right person and ask to answer the questions.
Okay, awesome. So Brian, as we wrap this up, are there any closing thoughts that you would like to leave our audience with?
Well, I would just like to first thank all the producers out there. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for those that are filling out those reports for doing that. We greatly appreciate that. I would tell everybody if you have suggestions on how we can better reach out, to producers and gain their trust or cooperation, please let us know. That's our primary thing. Is we want to make sure that we're representing everyone in the data, because everyone's operation is very important, to them, and we want to make sure that we're able to tell the story of what's happening out there in these rural communities, the rural operations, and all the great work those farmers and ranchers are doing around the country. So I greatly appreciate that. I would also mention, as I said, the census of the 2027 census of ag is fastly approaching. So we'll be kicking off that campaign to make sure all producers are signed up to be counted. And if there's an opportunity that groups that they represent or they're involved with that think could hear that message, please let us know. We will try to get on a meeting or a call or whatever to share that message about how important it is to sign up to be counted.
Okay. Well, we have a caller right here at the finish line, Brian. Can you take a call?
Absolutely, be happy to.
Okay.
Right. Hello, caller. Good morning. You're on.
Hey, good morning, Lydia, and good morning to your guests and also to your producer there. Good morning, everyone. Appreciate you getting my call in. My question is, does your department, if an individual was looking to start up a grocery store, a chain of grocery stores, maybe, does your department offer any type of assistance, or y'all affiliated with any type of assistance in helping any type of businesses starting up a grocery store chain anywhere?
That's a great question. So at NASS, we do not. We don't regulate anything. We don't provide any funding. So we are strictly just a data unit, and that keeps us independent from making some of those other decisions. Now, there may be some programs available through USDA. So I'm thinking Food and Nutrition Service, which they have been renamed, and I am drawing a blank right now on their new acronym. I think it's the Food Resource.
You can follow up and send it to me, Brian.
Yeah, I can send you that, and then we can. That might be helpful.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I was just curious about that. Great show. Appreciate the information.
Thank you. Thanks, Gary. Okay. All right. Now that we've had that last caller and he's crossed the finish line there, we will wrap up. So, Brian, I just want to say thank you so much again for joining us, sharing this information with us. There's a lot of things that go on out there in the in government, in the world of business, that we don't know about, that's in the background, that's information that we can use to actually help make our businesses successful. And we appreciate you being there to be able to get that to us.
Yeah, well, again, thank you for having me on. And like I said, if any of the producers have any questions about NASS, feel free to provide my contact. Happy to help. And thanks again for having me on. Enjoy the show. We
will. And like I said, we do have producers on from time to time. Producers, farmers and ranchers, and we'll have this information on deck, and they may have some follow-up reports. So may be in touch to have you on again. Talk to them.
Be happy to do it.
Okay. Thanks, Brian.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
All right. We'll take a break and we'll come back and we will have Lydia here with us. Here with us on the source. Everybody, we do thank you so much for being with us. You are listening to Diversity of Thought. I am Paris, and I'm delighted to be here with you. At noon, there'll be Michael Lawrence Harris, and we have another guest coming on in our 11 o'clock. In our 11 o'clock hour, we're just moments. We'll be moments away from Stephen Orozco and his guest, and they'll be right here with us on this Friday morning. And thank you for being here. And then, of course, it's Ralph at 1 o'clock this afternoon. So stay tuned for a full day ahead. Of course, there is the original DS on Friday, Don Sam. All right here on The Source. It happens right here, and we thank all of you for being here with us. Now tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the morning, it's Ron Jackson. Ron Jackson will be here, and he will be doing political talk. We've got political talk in the morning with Ron Jackson at 10 a.m., and he'll be followed by Akua Fayette, and Kerry Lewis will be here as well tomorrow. So it's going to be a full day ahead tomorrow on Saturday as well.
Remember when $100 filled a grocery cart? Today, it barely gets you started. If you're retired or planning to retire soon, you may be concerned about how inflation could impact your future income. Inflation doesn't retire when you do. Everyday necessities continues to rise. The question is, will your retirement income keep pace? You may have spent decades building retirement savings, but retirement isn't just about what you've accumulated. It's about what you can spend. Inflation can impact purchasing power and create challenges for retirees living on fixed incomes. At Advanced Wealth and Retirement Planning Concepts, we help individuals evaluate retirement income strategies and explore options that may help support their financial goals. Call today for your complimentary retirement income review.
Retirement doesn't come with a do-over. Whether retirement is around the corner or already here, now is a great time to review your plan. Schedule your complimentary retirement strategy session today by calling 832-402-8367. Investment advisory strategies offered through TLG Advisors Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor. No tax or legal advisement is given.
In life's most difficult moments, comfort matters. At Lord Edward Memorial, we believe every life is a blessing worth honoring with dignity and care. With a combined 60 years of experience, our compassionate staff walks beside your family with faith, respect, and understanding. Lord Edward Memorial, serving families with grace, compassion, and heartfelt care. Visit us at 6677 Rookin Street, Houston, 77074, or give us a phone call at 346-446-6675.
Hi, I'm JJ Walls with Sunnyside Dental, and yes, it's now been over 30 years that we've been providing quality dental care for our patients in the Houston area. It's now come to my attention that many of you that want to come to Sunnyside Dental have Medicare plans that we don't accept. Hold up, that has got to change. Sunnyside Dental is now accepting most Medicare dental plans. WellCare, Liberty, United Healthcare, Cigna, Kelsey Care Advantage, Amerigroup, Aetna, and many more. We're getting on board. Call Sunnyside Dental at 713-738-1999. If you have Medicare and would like to receive the personal touch provided by Sunnyside Dental, call us at 713-738-1999. We look forward to helping you achieve the smile that you can't wait to share with the world.
Got Medicare dental benefits? Call Sunnyside Dental 713-738-1999.
This is Gilbert Andrew Garcia of A Tip from Gilbert. Talk, inspiration, and prayer. Listen to my show every Monday from 11 to 12 on KWWJ 1360 AM, KYOK 1140 AM, KCOH at 1230kcoh.com, Sankeet Radio at 95.1 FM, 1460 AM, and Latino Sports, KEYH 850 AM. Call in at 832-570-8075 and follow me on social media. See you then.
A Tip from Gilbert, Mondays 11 a.m. on 1230 KCOH, The Source.
We're a winner.
And now, a message from the Future Frequency.
Young voters, Gen Z and millennials, our world is moving fast, and the issues hitting your pockets and your peace, they're all on the ballot. Rent, safety, jobs, student debt, and yes, home ownership. Whether you're aiming for your first keys or keeping your roof steady, voting is where those issues get decided. So click off the mute button and let your voice be heard. Tap in, lock in, and make a plan to vote. The future is live right now, and you're the frequency.
This message is powered by Diversity of Thought and proudly sponsored by 1230 KCOH, The Source.
And we're back. We are back with Lydia Flanagan, Diversity of Thought this morning. Lydia, wonderful interview, very informative. A lot of information there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Brian was. I enjoyed him. He's great. And again, as we were just discussing, Paris, if any of the folks out there who have farms.
Yeah, like the Ratcliffes, we had the Ratcliffes
yes.
on. You were saying, yeah.
Yes, and those folks, if they are using the information, has it been helpful?
Yeah.
And if they aren't utilizing it, did they not know about it, or are there some deficits in the information that that's the reason why they don't use it? We'd like to know about that as well.
That's very interesting. I'll see if I can get Derek Jabril to speak with you about that, and maybe you can get in contact.
That would be great. That would be great. So 713-668-1230, we're going to go into the discussion about patents. And as we're discussing jobs and the job market out there, I know that there's conversation not just about jobs, but also about businesses and business creation and all of the things that go along with it. Patents, for instance, back in February on Diversity of Thought, we talked about how Black innovation built this country, even when the patent system refused to recognize it. And I mentioned some folks here. Benjamin Montgomery was one of them, created a shallow water steamboat propeller that solved navigation across the Mississippi. Henry Boyd engineered the Boyd bedstead, a breakthrough in furniture design that became a national bestseller. But he had to put a white craftsman's name on the patent just to get it approved. And then there's Benjamin Bordley. He was an enslaved inventor who designed improved marine system engine at the U.S. Naval Academy. But because he was enslaved in the South, he couldn't legally hold a patent.
Right.
And powerful figures, including Robert E. Lee, in his federal engineering role, tried to claim the invention as institutional property. Broadley's genius was treated as something to be taken, not credited. Robert E. Lee, by the way, was not able to do that in the end. No one was able to actually claim that patent. But Robert E. Lee was blocked from doing so. But when you zoom out, historians estimate that blocking Black inventors from patents from slavery through Jim Crow stripped away $20 to $30 billion in today's dollars, and that's conservative because many inventions were never documented at all. So this is exactly the kind of loss Dr. Sadie Tanner Moswell Alexander, the first African American woman to earn a PhD in economics, warned about nearly a century ago. So she was before Lisa Cook. Paris.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Actually, what's her name again?
And actually, her name is Dr. Sadie Tanner Moswell Alexander. She was the first African American woman again to earn a PhD in economics.
Beautiful.
So,
good.
And she was doing this. So, Lisa Cook picked up the mantle from her.
Sure.
And quantified the drop in patents from Black inventors. So she picked up the mantle. But Sadie Tanner Moswell Alexander argued that when Black innovators were denied patents, the country wasn't just denying credit, it was destroying wealth. Yeah. And she was one of the first economists to show that systemic exclusion had a measurable dollar cost, not just a social one. Her work made it clear that Black creativity had been diverted, diminished, and stolen through legal and economic structures that treated Black geniuses as expendable. So even today, let's go in today, African-American inventors, they make up less than 1% of our U.S. patent holders. The patents that do fall into that 1%, let's break it down, tend to cluster in a few areas. So we got medical devices and health tech, Paris, consumer products, software and digital tools, mechanical innovations, agricultural and environmental technologies, and beauty, healthcare, and personal care formulations. You wouldn't be surprised about that. That's probably one of the first, one of the strongest categories for Black investors. It says the ideas are there, but the access to networks and the capital often aren't. So we revisit that February conversation. It's not just about history. It's a reminder that same brilliance, put some positive energy out there, that same brilliance that lived in Montgomery's workshop, in Boyd's carpentry shop, and Broadley's engine room is still here. And Dr. Alexander's legacy, via Lisa Cook, as we discussed, tells us exactly what the work is now, is making sure the system finally sees that brilliance, protects it, and rewards it. So that'll flow us into this great wealth transfer that I've discussed as well. And they've had some person call in about that, a couple of callers, and I think I've heard a conversation, maybe even with Sherman with Hugh Paris, to talk about the great wealth transfer. So as older white businesses owners retire, white and Black, but the majority of them will be white business owners by virtue of just the population. Millions of companies will be coming up for sale. And that's one of the quiet lanes in the great wealth transfer that a lot of people don't talk about. For Black entrepreneurs, this moment isn't just about opportunity, it's about protection while stepping into systems that weren't built with us in mind. So buying an existing company means stepping into someone else's contracts, their culture, their network, and their legacy, right? And bias doesn't always show up loudly. Sometimes it shows up as fit culture or continuity, language that sounds neutral but functions as gatekeeping in a lot of instances. So that's why protection has to be structural, not emotional. So protection looks like clean contracts, clean valuations, and strong due diligence, right, when you get into this. And financing tools that create accountability, like SBA-backed loans, bank financing, investor partnerships, and seller financing that lets you pay over time using the company's own cash flow. That could be an option as well. So it looks like having a circle of attorneys, accountants, brokers, mentors who understand the landscape and won't let you walk into a deal alone. So, it takes a village, and sometimes that village is comprised of attorneys, accountants, brokers, and mentors, right? Because ownership is power, but protected ownership is stability, right? And as millions of businesses change hands, this is one of the few times where Black buyers can now move into legacy industries with both opportunity and armor and protection, right?
Yes.
So question out there to you, as millions of companies come up for sale, what protections and financing tools is anyone they may be aware of, and or you pairs, do entrepreneurs need to confidently acquire these businesses without being blocked by bias or subjective gatekeeping during the process? So I brought up a few. You may have your own. I think we talked about venture capitalists at one point. So that's an option as well. But that's how we step into, I think, the great wealth transfer. We don't have slavery at this point and won't. So we have the opportunity to be able to plan to try to get this done. And this isn't something that's happened before. And so we have an opportunity here. and I don't think it'll close the wealth gap, but
Right.
it'll create a lot of again stability, or it can create a lot of stability for us if we're prepared and we step into this smartly.
Right,
So, any
right.
thoughts about that?
Oh, yes, a ton of them. And these all, it's like a big pool or an ocean of information you've got there. And it comes down to a river, and the river flows into a little tributaries along the way. So many places you can take.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to what you were saying about the first black woman economist who set the stage for Lisa D. Cook and others. And because that fact that she quantified how that system of taking away things from us so we could not move forward, the realization that actually happened ought to temper, I think, the conversation of some of today's critics, some of even my well-meaning friends. When some of them explain why we are where they are, they always begin from the 50s or the 60s and with our parents. Our parents didn't do this. Our parents didn't do that.
Yeah.
The result is, and this is what Ali is talking about when he talks about a system, the system has us criticizing our own parents, our forebears, who were giving it their damn best. They gave it their best. They had their stuff taken away from them. And yet, so much of today's conversation from the, our critics.
Take a breath.
So much of our conversation from today's critics points to black parents as the problem. When actually it was white thieves who were the problem. And we missed that.
Yeah.
And so we fast forward, and all we do when we do that, by ignoring what they did, we give it a pass, and then we re-victimize the people who were fighting for us all along, because in the first place, and we portray those people who suffered that violence. We lump them in. We allow an establishment to lump them in with lazy, shiftless, and mindless people. The same people who were building bridges in this country, toiling in the land, working from sun up to sundown, and doing all of these thankless jobs. And we come along today and talk about, and we make it seem like, well, if we would have just been more industrious and passed it on to our children. Well, what were you going to pass on to your children when the judge told you, the Supreme Court judge told you, Roger Taney told you, you had no rights that a white man was bound to respect. You see, when you recognize that, if we would just tell the truth about that, we then at least may be able to find some nobility in the black people who suffered and came here before us.
And even you lay that phrase, even with that being the thought, someone having a thought about you that you had no rights, you were just, no intelligence. In the same breath, you have these people, this woman, first PhD in economics, who she laid the intellectual foundation.
Yes.
This was in the 1920s for this patent thought and the dollars associated. And then Lisa Cook comes back and she provided the modern empirical evidence.
Right, yes.
This. That's how we need to lay that. And I think it has something to do with people being, I guess, maybe just embarrassed or feeding into this narrative instead of having that strength that those people had when all of the odds were stacked against them to fight back and to do these things. It's a lot harder to do something when someone absolutely, you don't have the right to do it, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Then they don't think you have the intelligence to do it.
Yes.
And you do it.
Yes.
And here we come, the generations after, and like you say, having this narrative that these individuals, were just lumping them into this same group, not recalling their courage to be able to do these things, their intellect, their courage. We need to be building on this, discussing this, and bringing it forward.
I think so too. That's when they say you're playing a race card, right? That's what they call lifting ourselves up. Fighting back is what they call the race card. That's the name they have given it. When you mention what those black people did back then, they say, "Oh, you're thinking the race card, right?" So I mean, that's why it bugs me so much. It takes me to another place because it ignores a true history. It ignores a true history, and some of us we don't hate ourselves, but those of us who don't sometimes, in misguided intentions, sometimes we don't hate ourselves, but we give other people permission, a permission structure in which they can hate us, because we affirm their criticism of us, and their criticism is unfounded in the first place.
Absolutely. And we're going to, I've had the Office of Business Opportunity with the City of Houston on before, but I want to have them on again. When they were on before, that's when the minority-owned business certifications, all of those things were still in place. Yeah. They've been dismantled now. And so I want to get the thought process, the mindset around what that looks like now, because, Paris, as we discussed, the ancestors and what they did, these bombs keep getting thrown, though. Back at us. They don't stop.
Lydia, I'm right here on that page to show you how much we're on the same page. I was going to bring this up because we talked about people having things taken from them and way back then, blah, blah, blah. You remember the Fearless Fund. We were talking about venture capitalists. Somebody mentioned, listen, that got so little play when this guy, I think his name was Edward Bloom, Chris mentions it once in a while as well. A conservative group sued the Fearless Fund, which is a group of black women. It's a venture capital firm that was run by black women, and it stopped them from giving business grants exclusively to black women. They claim that giving
reverse discrimination
violated a 19th century civil rights law that bans race discrimination in contracts.
Discrimination, reverse discrimination.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of activity or actions that occur when progress is being made, and then you still encounter these speed bumps. They're still throwing things in front of you, and I don't understand why that conversation. I think maybe people think like, oh, okay, coming up with excuses as to why we can't get these things done, and it's like, well, no. We need to understand the actual path that got us to this point, what our actions were, and what the other folks' actions were, in order for you to be able to continue on as the actions continue to occur. How can you not, how can you not want us to have that conversation unless you are trying to distract us from actual solution to these challenges that face us. So, I want to have the Office of Business Opportunity on again.
Oh, that's good.
To talk about that. There's a lawsuit. There's a lawsuit out there against what Governor Abbott has done here in Texas to take away the certifications and to make them only apply to veterans. I think that's the only certification that there is now, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But I still think that those other protections need to be there for obvious reasons. We never really got around to getting an accurate report that was forthcoming with how the minority-owned businesses were operating under the certification. That was like pulling teeth.
Yes.
To get that report when it did come out, and it wasn't done consistently or on time. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's another aspect. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Paris. What were you going to say?
Well, I wanted to say this. You point out. See, sometimes when you're talking, you point out things that I just have to say. Ooh, wait, I know. The point is, when we don't tell the truth about what happened, we overlook statistics that say black female founders historically received less than 1% of all venture capital funds. But when you hear a case like the one we're talking about, where these sisters got stopped from passing out those funds, that law rests on a very fair, very egalitarian thought, meaning an equally observed thought. It's like keeping people the same and all of that. Yeah, it's an idealistic thought, but it's a good thought. It's just that when you do that, you ignore the fact that these people were not getting more than their fair share. That's why we point out the 1%. They use this law. They use this law, and it's a good law, but they seem to be unaware that the reason that they needed that money was because historically less than 1% of all venture capital funds go to black female founders. So here are the people at a historical disadvantage, and you give them something to try to get them to catch up, not get ahead, but to catch up. And then now that sounds like it's a fixed game by those spoiled people who have had it all for them. See, when you've got 85% of something and you want to give somebody 12%, or forget that, if you want to give them 2%, 87 sounds like a giveaway. That 2% makes it sound like you're giving them the other 85% as well. So you claim they've got more than you do. And I just think we talk about ourselves and our history in such a distorted manner, and we like going back 50 years, and we talk in terms of the Democrats, and as if all of that stuff was we just distort the image of the country. We distort the image of our people, even when we're talking to each other. I mean, to hear black people say, hey, you ought to go out and get your own. Well, we had our own. We had our own in Tulsa. We had it in Rosewood. We had it in these patents. We don't even think about the patents because we made thievery so common, such a part of the American structure and the system of distribution that it has become acceptable. They don't forget the Civil War. They don't forget the Confederacy. They don't forget the Confederacy. But if you go back to the Civil War, they'll say we weren't back there. We weren't back there to become slaves. Well, I wasn't back there for the Civil War either, and you weren't back there for the Civil War. But you still cling to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's why I think it's so important to understand these processes, like with Brian Combs this morning. Because when you can drill down to numbers and create your analysis, a lot of times you can come up with a plan and really get something instituted because they're going to attack you. That's just a given. You're going to be attacked, especially if you're successful. At some point, something's going to happen. But this information, the more information you have to make your venture, your business more successful, gives you an opportunity to kind of dig your claws in, a bit before the wind starts blowing, before somebody tries to come and push you over, and I think that's why a lot of people may feel like, oh, why she got these people coming on with all of this stuff and all this information. A lot of people may not be using it, but you might want to think about looking at it. At least you know about it. At least you know about it. At least you got somebody credible from the organization, and that may lead to other questions like Scurry called in, asked about something that we've been to the grocery stores. And no, that's not the place to go get it, but it's adjacent.
And then the man said they're hiring, they're giving out apps.
Hiring.
All right. So we had to think in more than a narrow line. This man said, there are jobs here. I guess he couldn't say, he don't know for how long, but he said, but it says we got to crack these doors in those kinds of places. We have
exactly.
to. Yeah.
And that's why I want to I like to have these people on that are in these places that you don't even,
I love it.
because they're supposed to operate in the shadows a lot of times.
That's
in the
right.
background.
That's right.
Where you don't see how it's working. You just take it for granted.
Right.
You open the refrigerator door, but there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on before it gets to the refrigerator, before you go to the farmer's market, before there's a lot of different things that go on. And as we all know, this is an area where I see a lot of interest from people, from younger people. I see it. People seem to be interested because a lot of folks are trying to eat healthier.
Yeah.
They're concerned
absolutely,
about to tie into to the medical, the health side that you always talk about. People are eating healthier.
Yeah.
They should eat healthier. They want to. So they're interested about where their food is coming from. And we can't help but to notice, like I said, this guy couldn't talk about policy and all of that. But as our farmers are being, I don't want to say attacked, but as our farmers are being affected by these tariffs and the other global policies that are going on, I mean, I want to understand, okay, so are black people getting questioned? You know how people say they never call me when they ask.
They'll say that about surveys. Anybody call me? No, nobody call you. Nobody call you.
Nobody call Mom.
Because they already know.
So, are you reaching out to these farmers? Because, a lot of farmers, everybody has technology now, but that's something that was a big thing. Are they connected?
Yeah.
Are the farmers connected? How we sending around the actual person. Yeah, they have communication, electronic communication, but how soon? Because we get a jobs report every month, but how often do these come out? Not all the information comes out every month. Some of it comes out yearly. Some of it does come out monthly. Of course, the crops reports, because those folks on Wall Street need it for the commodities, right? So, and that's my familiarity with it, is through the commodities market and finance, where I worked for a long time. And commodities are the most volatile instruments, financial instruments out there, and people that invest in commodities are a different breed. Because it just, the market can move from one end to the other. And like he was explaining, natural disasters can affect it, and it just all kinds of things. And now that we've got a president that's making all these different moves, you just never know from one day to the next what could happen. So, farmers need quick information as well.
Yes.
In order to be able to guide their business. But want to say that to say, we're talking about jobs. and don't poo-poo on jobs. A lot of people.
Don't get
we
crazy.
need jobs,
You still
y'all.
need jobs
A lot
now.
of people.
Yeah.
We still need jobs.
Yeah.
But we do also, and we always have focused on entrepreneurs and business. We always have spoken about that and given information about all those. Maybe those people that call in and make comments weren't listening that day. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
So,
even entrepreneurs need workers. So let's not get crazy with it, right?
And the small businesses,
That's
small
right.
businesses, like they
That's
say,
right.
they can't find
That's
anybody.
right. They say they can't find them. That's
now,
right. That's right.
Now you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we got some callers.
Yeah,
on
we
before
do. Yeah, we
I
do.
go.
And
Sure.
I don't want your callers to feel shortchanged. So let's jump to it. Let's see who's out there now. Hello, caller. You're on.
Okay.
Good morning, Miss Nanda.
Hey.
Miss Flanagan,
Hey, Bobby Ray.
Hey, Mr. Bobby Ray.
Doggone Paris. Man, Miss Flanagan, you said something earlier. I said, well, she talking about Paris? She said Jim Crow. So Paris, Jim Crow, Eley. But so sometimes, Miss Flanagan, sometimes for some of us, we don't have the one-on-one. So you way out there and talking, you just say Jim Crow, blah 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 blah. And so say, what the heck? What does Jim Crow mean? We talking about the Reconstruction era, the Jim Crow era, the Civil Rights era of 1965. So for some of us, Sister Flanagan, we kind of slow. So I know you're going. You took your doggone talk medicine and you're going 100 miles an hour. Say, slow down. So parents, they tell me, are we there yet? Sometimes,
okay.
You going 100 miles an hour, Miss Flanagan.
Thank you, Mr. Bobby Ray. I will remember.
During the Jim Crow era, and then here come Ali. And some of them playing checkers when the game is checkers. I mean, checkers when the game is chess. Oh man, give us
Okay. Look, Bobby Ray. Yeah, look. Jim Crow laws, the black codes, all of those things, man. Immediately after Reconstruction, and they never really went away because there's an era called the Redemption Period in which they fought to recover what they perceived as their losses in the South, and those were egregious. And they showed up. They morphed. They came again in other forms, although they might have looked benign, but separate but equal. Was another way of getting to the same, another means of getting to the same end.
Exactly. So and apologies for that if that wasn't understood. But yeah, when I say Jim Crow, I think popular culture after Reconstruction, Jim Crow, and then moving on to the Civil Rights movement. So that was my thought process behind that, and I think most people in general understand that. But hey, thank you for bringing it to my attention, or to our attention, Mr. Bobby Ray, and I will make note. Thank you.
All right. Hello, caller. You're on with Lydia.
Okay. Thank y'all very much for accepting the call. And I really enjoyed the interview, Ms. Flanagan.
Oh, thank you.
Flanagan, right off the top, I want to say that first. And I'm glad Paris addressed. He said that sometimes we talk about history and in our own individual achievements and individual people from a distorted point of view. Like you said, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. You know what happened in Rosewood is documented. That happened 68 other times. So when they say pull yourself, when we say it, because the system causes us to be parrots. We're not really doing any studying. And I'm not saying you got to go to the university to study. I'm just study on your own. We're turned into a parrot. And here's one. Here's a couple of examples. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad went to Mecca in 1958. Guess who he took with him? Malcolm X. So for somebody to say, well, Malcolm X went over there when he got out of the nation, he found out there were white Muslims. Malcolm X went to Mecca in 1958. They did that to sell a book. It's a word for that. They're not necessarily lying. I forgot the name of that word, Paris and Lydia, when the writer writes and he kind of makes the truth even bigger.
Embellishing.
Embellishing, okay. The author wasn't necessarily lying, but it wasn't accurate. That wasn't Malcolm's first time going to Mecca. And see, we're here to act. And we don't know nobody that are even associated with Malcolm X. Most of us did. Because we wasn't in the Nation of Islam or we wasn't Muslim. And then you got those people talking, yeah, he went over there and he found out they were white Muslims. He's been knowing that since 1958. They did the book. He was out of the nation by 64, I believe. Come on, man. So I'm just saying we will talk about history in a distorted type of view. We'll talk about like if I talk to you, Lydia, and you say, Ali, something wrong with my car, I hear knocking, and I'm going all off in the detail. Know that I'm talking about something I don't know nothing about, because I don't know nothing about repairing no car. And it's going to show up. So we should take our time, think, and listen. And don't be, I don't argue with Paris on how to run no music studio, or how to run a radio studio, or how to run that board, because we just thinking Paris just picking up the phone. He got to run advertisement at a certain time. I would be a nut to sit up here and argue with Paris about the radio. Man, don't argue with no Muslim about the history of Islam in America, because you sound like a nut.
And to that end, Ali, I have to say it's 11 o'clock. It's the top of the hour.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So I have to, unfortunately, wrap this up early.
Yeah, right.
But fortunately for you, there is another guest coming on, a great guest coming on with Steven Zarasco, and his name is Lupe Menendez. And so he's a poet laureate here in Texas, I think in 2022 and 2023. But he's coming on with Stevens now. And so I'd like to just wrap things up with you, Ali. And we'll talk again. We'll talk next week,
we'll talk again. Yes, most definitely. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, Perry.
All right. I see, you can learn from everybody. You got to teach me that trick, getting out of the show on time. I knew I'd heard that somewhere. I knew I'd heard somebody do that before. Thank you so much. You getting me? I'll tell you, boy.
Welcome.
I know. That's not an easy thing to do here.
No.
So look,
we
love you
much.
I
love it. I enjoy all you guys, and I'm sure there'll be some interesting things discussed next week. So I'm sure you probably hear from me through the week before Friday.
Oh, I certainly hope so.
And,
as always.
Yeah. So I will talk to you then, and you guys have a wonderful weekend.
Okay, thank you so much. We are 12.
We
are the source, everybody, and we are right here. We are right here with you. It's the top of the hour. We're going to do a hard Yep, you hear that sound? It means we're going to do a hard transition this morning. We are just going from talk to talk this morning, and Lydia just gave you the perfect introduction, Stevens. So we're gonna open it up.
I appreciate always Lydia for her perspective, and also for her warming words, always so kind. And I'm happy to have this space with you right now, Paris. I know the conversation this week here in Houston has been heavy, especially specifically in regards to the most recent occurrence with ICE here in Houston. And this one is different for many reasons. and there's a lot to cover there, and there's a lot of feelings around what's going on in regarding the response and how to move forward. So I was listening to the show yesterday, so I've heard some of your callers, and you know, a lot of valid points, a lot of understandable history regarding like why people feel the way they feel. But one thing I definitely want to start contributing to the conversation is the proof that there has been people from Black and brown communities showing up to each other for each other's moments in need. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've been present. I've either marched, rallied, protested, or gone to events, vigils and memorials and city council, you know, all these spaces. And mind you, that's as a student, because people have jobs and work. They can't show up like that. So how they show up in other ways is also important. Of course, we talk about election year stuff, so everybody's now throwing in their word in there. But I think the most important part for this conversation today is to start really understanding how this is also a tragic opportunity for us to reinforce some of these coalitions that we've been built in the past and had success, and then also like build it for a more of a long-lasting future. So with that, I wanted to introduce the guest for here in the Morning Magazine special edition with Paris here, because I really want Paris to have you know, your perspective, because you know so much of what's happened in Houston through your own eyes over the decades. So here we have Lupe Mendez, who is former Texas Poet Laureate, but also an amazing author. He's an educator, of course, an activist, and you know, he's recently come out with a book which I think is very appropriate for the time. It's a very timely book regarding escuelitas, which are the schools that many of the Mexican communities started to organized together in response to like the desegregation process here in Houston all those decades ago. So those are examples of how community has shown up for themselves and how we could like use that as a blueprint for the future. But without any more dragging it on, I want to introduce Lupe Mendez. Thank you for coming today.
Man, muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much, Perry and Stevens, for having me on. Honor and a blessing to be in your presence. And Lydia, thank you for the other intro that you gave earlier. Like that was real smooth. I spent a little while serving KPFT 90.1 for a few years, doing the radio show for a little bit. So it feels comfortable being in headphones and on a mic. So it's a good time. Man, Stevens, everything you led in with has been everything that has been, man, on my mind for quite a while. As you were talking, the first moment I think that hit my head was around the time, man, dating myself, I guess, maybe about a year and a half, maybe 2 years after Trayvon Martin's murder, que en paz descanse, the 43 missing students out of Ayotzinapa happened. And I was part of a larger coalition that was working to bring some of the parents of the 43 missing students in Mexico to the States for 3 different caravans. There's a caravan going to the East Coast. They were all going to branch out of Mexico into 3 different regions and then all come back together in D.C. To request assistance from the U.S. The middle caravan that went through Mexico into Texas, up Arkansas, and into Chicago and Illinois, there was a stop off in Chicago, and there was a radio call online, Skype, like when Skype was the thing. And the call was with the family of Trayvon Martin and 3 of the parents from the missing 43, and through a translator, it was this tear-jerking, wonderful moment of solidarity between families that did not know what the other was dealing with. And I think that was the one thing that everybody had stepped away with, was once we start to figure out where we are in certain processes and when the information is shared and when there's a moment to do the thing, people come together quite quickly. Not being a Houston native, I also think back to when I was a kid. I am about to be 50. I am a young 49. I only have one knee that pops in the morning when I wake up, and I don't need any Bengay just yet. But I was a kid, and like now that they're talking about the defunding of the Department of Education, my entire life has been under when the Department of Education was the biggest thing, right? Like its infancy was my beginning years. Carter had started the program again. I was born while Ford was still president. Carter's administration started the Department of Ed. And so my own history, how it's interwoven into the Black experience, Galveston ISD didn't want to accept me into their schools because I only spoke Spanish. And because it was new oversight federally, the district, any district in Texas could do, it was the Wild West, you could do whatever you wanted. And the school district told my mother that they wouldn't accept me without labeling me as special ed. And they said, he has a language deficiency. He doesn't hear or understand English, so it's a language deficiency. He's special ed. That's what they were going to label him. And my mother said, no. And she looked around to find spaces that had pre-K programs. And there was one space, Southern Black Baptist Church, Live Oak, in Galveston. And they took me in. And the only thing they asked my parents was a translation dictionary. And they labeled everything in the building in both languages. So my first classrooms were in a sea of Black students. And towards the Black community, image of faith and understanding. And then even knowing my mother's history in the job market, right? Like her time as a licensed vocational nurse. I finally, after her passing, found the history of the process, always couched in racism. But all her coworkers were Filipina or Black or other Mexicanas. Like that was it. If you were an LVN, that was it. All the other RNs were white nurses. And then as my mother got older and wanted to switch into an RN program, I could never understand why my mom had to go back and take classes until after her passing. I found her college transcripts. She hadn't attended college until after I was in like 7th grade. And I started researching the LVN program in Texas, and it was started in the 50s and did not actually provide schooling. It was a licensing. So you did the licensing on the feet. You were a nurse's aide during the day, and then you took night classes. But it was a certificate. It wasn't any college credit. And so to become an RN, there was a wall, right? All these nurses, and I don't mean a few, I mean thousands. Like the state of Texas at the time, between 1952 to about 1971, had a lack of nurses. And the biggest, most major pool of nurses in the state of Texas were Black, Filipina, and Mexicana nurses that existed in the space. And like I look at that history and I'm like, man, we're more enveloped in each other's lives than I don't know if people even consider.
Right. Now, because the bubbles are real that build over time, especially like culturally. You have, whatever's going on, and social media just allows people to just kind of put that in a bubble, and so therefore they miss the history of how things have evolved from a lot of entanglements and shared history that we have. I think it is an important moment for us to like reflect on this, because I have to go back to your callers, Paris. One specific caller said something about like, now we have to see about who's gonna show up for who, because now the shooter's on the other foot, now the shooter's on your foot. And it's not that I resent that or I feel like upset about that. I'm saddened by that, because I felt like that was proof of the lack of just knowing what's going on just in Houston. Because I think I've learned over the years to stop speaking in like the swathing, like everything applies to the statement. and vice versa. I learned that, every region has its own history and reasons why those community members should already look towards each other, right? And in Houston, there's just a lot of history of that. And I think what really, really makes this a very different, and now I want to move into what the events that happened Monday morning with ICE and where we are now at this point. Who's speaking up and how is being pushed is very important because, of course, it's an election year, so they're going to weaponize this on both sides as an issue to really and then it's going to, and because I've seen it already happen many, many times, and we're talking about Houston. We're not talking about something that happened in Minneapolis. I don't want to see Houston get divided up by these convenient narratives of how to keep black and brown people from seeing each other in the same struggle, right? Because this is one of the most clearest moments of everything, and it's the most Houston way to approach it. A lot is there. So yeah, so Lupe, before I try to retell any stories, I wanted to kind of get your perspective on how the past couple of days have been since you've been present for the family and gone to some of the gatherings.
Thank you for the thoughts. Man, in a nutshell, if you can even say, Lorenzo Salgado Araujo was killed by ICE agents. The DHS's original statement was that he used his van as a weapon, and so they shot at him. But as reported by his lawyer and in the Washington Post, it turns out the other three gentlemen that were his employees, who he was picking up, have told a separate story that the two cars following basically boxed him in, exited weapons out, and began firing at the van. And bullets struck Araujo in the stomach. They pulled him out of the van, and they handcuffed him, and he bled out on the street.
And by that time, the crowd was there.
And by that time, there were people there. And so what is one narrative of the thing isn't the true facts of the moment. Having been at the morning press conference, I think the most touching thing for me, the most humanizing thing for me was I went as an observer. Cesar Espinosa with Fiel had asked, I had seen the flyer he had posted and then asked in a text message, what can I do? Where do you need me? How can I help? He said, just show up. And if you have time in the evening, we're going to have a rally. Maybe you can have a few words there. And I said, whatever you need. So I go as an observer to the press conference, and the Salgado family walks in. Ronaldo's the oldest. He's a teacher. And what caught my attention on his entry, the rest of the family was coming in, there were younger family members standing in the back, and he gave them hugs. And then he gave another 2-3 individuals these other hugs, and the look on his face was just very tender. And those individuals just kind of looked at each other and just were very solemn. And I didn't make a note, but until he got back on the stage and mentioned that who he thanked his family, his friends, the people, elected officials that had shown up. And then he said, and I'd also like to thank my former students who also came. And that, for me, that broke my heart. It's a moment of, you're always there for your students and your kids. And this is any teacher, any background, right? Like, you're always there for your kids, and you never expect a moment of tenderness in which, a moment of vulnerability when something happens and your kids are the ones that are uplifting you, right? And it's almost very similar, I guess, as a parent, right? Like when your kid finally helps you out on a thing, like it's the same, almost like weird introspective moment of wanting to leave yourself open and needing to be open in a particular situation. And then he spoke about everything that the family had to learn through social media. He was walking up and down the street trying to get information from HPD, trying to get information from the feds, couldn't find anything. and was relying on Facebook and social media to get information about his father. I think even now, I think they're still in the middle of trying to get his father's
claim the body.
Claim the body. Bentab, when ICE took him down, they took all his identification pieces. And so now he showed up as a John Doe. And so per protocol, they have to do apparently a DNA swab to verify, even though they know, right? But it's all the bureaucrat, the bureaucracy of the thing, and the not being identified and being just the unrecognizable body of the moment, right? I think as the rally and the vigil moved forward, the amount and the number of people from across different paths and walkways across the city have shown up. Both elders, both people my age, but also youth. And it's this very chilling moment in which it's this bittersweet understanding that the kids understand in ways that maybe our generation doesn't.
Right.
But at the same time, there has to be a moment to educate our youth about what these struggles have looked like, in the hopes that they do better than we tried. And maybe, hopefully, like there's some hindsight into figuring out what are tactics so that we don't get split up, right? Like the natural barriers that exist in a city and a space, like the wards are the wards for the way the wards are. The 45 and I-10 divide so many different populations. 290 does the same thing. Writing the book I did on the Huelga schools here in Houston, one of the interviews that I got to do with was a black elder, Perry McCary, PK. And talking with PK, she told me that her family moved from Prairie View to move to Houston because her father was a professor at Prairie View and then eventually got a job at TSU. But she said while she was there in Prairie View, Sundays was a farmer's market. And the farmer's market was shared, intermingled between the Spanish-speaking community that was in Hempstead and the black community of farmers that was in Prairie View. And she said it eventually closed, and not because either community wanted it to close, but it was the sheriff's department putting the bug in people's ears that people were out selling each other and yada, yada, yada. And so there goes, that crack in that moment. And it then dissolved. And then lo and behold, you get a farmer's market that pops up by farmers that are in Bryan. And so like even that single piece of detail that Perry gave me, it allowed me to understand this has always been in the works. Like the minute a group or individuals are in an institution and are discriminatory towards people of color, any tactic to get those groups to separate becomes the goal, so that the infighting occurs. Even the way desegregation occurred in the city, there are two very distinct histories. Writing the book on the Huelga schools allowed me to see the design of what it was, the history that we know of desegregation in the South, which most times people, when they think of the Deep South, they don't ever think of Texas, but it's a part.
It's a part.
It's that, and knowing that deseg didn't happen in the state of Texas until the 70s, and I thought it was just Houston. Is almost every major spot in the state they dug in their heels and fought so that deseg didn't happen until the 70s. And watching how the city chose only one plan that allowed Mexican students to be counted as white, but because binary racial theory, if you're not black, you're white. The checkbox on everybody's birth certificates, not my daughter's now, but mine as a kid, my birth certificate says white. But I'm sorry,
right?
That's not how that works.
And I see that and then any type of census where they start asking Hispanic or non-white Hispanic, and then like Latino. Like for me, like those I'm like, yeah, I'm still not seeing how I identify in
Correct.
this. Right?
Correct. Right.
So,
And it's that vantage point, right? It's a system created to do a thing to then marginalize on the back end. So the Houston Independent School District of the 68 until 70 created a DSEC system in which they isolated predominantly black elementary, middle school, and high schools, and Mexican-based elementaries, middle schools, and high schools. On the elementary side, they reorganized kids so they would be bused into each other's schools. On the middle school and high school, it was more diabolical. They rezoned the kids. So the 3 high schools that they rezoned were the majority of Mexican students who were white for all intents and purposes were Austin and Fur. Fur is on I-10 heading a little far out west. Austin is like a hop, skip, and a jump, right? They rezoned all the kids from Austin, all the Mexican kids from Austin and Fur to Wheatley. They didn't move a single kid from Wheatley to Austin or Fur.
Right.
So you've basically, and in research, I found 3 kinds of Mexicanos, right? You had the families that were, and I'm going to say it, anti-black. Me publishing this book, I've gotten so much hate from anti-black Mexicanos, and I don't apologize for them.
Right.
I don't get them. I don't understand it. Shut up. Yeah. Just yeah. Be a human and just understand other people. But you had those families that said, I don't want my kids going to school with a black kid. But you also had families that said, I've been here in this city for generations, and now you want to move my kid from the school that I went to. Yeah. Nope. Boycott. Then you had the third families that were like, wait, so you're telling me that you're going to move my kid because you think this is an improvement, and you're going to move them to a school that's just as poor as my school, and none of the white kids at River Oaks or Poe Elementary are going to be a part of this process? No, boycott.
Right.
So Mexican families, you had those 3 kinds of families that boycott the district to fight to have a fully inclusive desegregation plan. And they created strike schools, which was a product of black resistance, right? Like SNCC and all the community organizing that was already happening in other southern states was borrowed by Chicano activists in Denver. And they created strike schools there first. And then Houston activistas, community leaders, saw what was happening in Denver. They're like, let's borrow it for this. And that's like 12 different campuses existed as strike schools.
Now, what were strike schools?
So strike schools, thank you. Strike schools in the city, when the desegregation order happened in August 31st of 1970. On the elementary side, there were like 8 black campuses that were selected and 8 quote unquote Mexican campuses that were selected, and the kids would be bused. Mexican students would go to predominantly black schools, black students would go to predominantly Mexican schools, and that was the check off the box. No white kids were involved in DSEG. On that middle school and high school side, they rezoned those high schools the way they did. So families boycott the district. Mexican families on August 31st, 1970 boycotted the district. 3,000 students did not attend their newly assigned school in protest. But to compensate for the lack of, well, what are we going to do if we don't send the kids to school? How are we going to educate them? The Mexican American Education Council here in Houston organized representation from the north side and Segundo Barrio and Magnolia and different parts of town, and said, we need to develop our own system of schools, community-based schools that we can rely on to teach our kids in the middle of this boycott with the district. It's going to cost the district money if they don't have our kids in their campuses. So compensate by having these campuses, our selected huelga schools, strike schools, to teach kids the basic reading, math, arithmetic, reading, writing, and arithmetic, until the district bends and says, okay, we'll fix it.
Okay.
And different huelga schools, strike schools popped up, right? Like 12 to 16 different campuses existed at a local YWCA off of Navigation, the Magnolia Park one, on Conjunto Salon Bar turned into a huelga school during the day off of Port Houston. A bunch of churches, Presbyterian, Catholic, and Baptist churches turned into huelga schools. You had retired teachers, student teachers, parents, grandparents, and community volunteers. Everybody filling in to support teaching the kids while their parents were picketing at the district office, were picketing at the schools. And the district, started checking off the boxes that, hey, we desegregated.
And this is like relevant because like this year, what was it? 11 schools HISD have closed down, and they're all predominantly in black and brown neighborhoods.
If you were to I'm surprised I'm not even in trouble. The overlap between the schools that are shut down to the schools that were part of the experiment are almost identical. It's been a pillar in our neighborhood for X number of years. The same sentiment existed with the original desegregation plan. The trick of it is Corpus Christi had their desegregation plan almost simultaneously at the same time that Houston is doing its plan. Corpus went another route. Corpus, though, decided to submit two different plans. Plan A was the plan that Houston executed. Plan B was, okay, well, if we can't do it this way, then let's do one that includes everyone. The judge in Corpus was like, yeah, do Plan B because the other one stinks. HISD only gave the judge here the one plan. And so it only left families with the option to do this. In interviewing individuals, in reading Papel Chicano and the Forward Times of the era, completely different worlds existed. And in interviewing other black elders, the one thing that stuck out as I was doing this research was the Title I coordinator at my elementary school where I worked at, Zaydell Spencer, amazing, beautiful human being. Spencer said, boy, we didn't even know what Mexican was. What interactions. Also, if you weren't black, you were white. And it's a moment of like, well, let me sit down and sit with that. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? And then I start reading the history of like LULAC going to court so that they could be identified as white. And like, thanks, middle-class Mexicans, for making the rest of us not part of the community. And I think that's also this in the face of whatever these tactics are, in the face of what a system says you need to be, the desperation of what people would do to ensure that the rest of their kind is okay. A part of me is angry of the fact that like that's a choice they made. But then the other element is the number of immigrant families that are crossing out of need, right? Like that's also the thing that families are doing to survive. And so it makes no excuse for LULAC's past. I'm grateful now that they've stepped forward with the Salgado case. But it their original actions have, in the long run, I don't think have actually helped bring both communities together. You had particular systems and rules and laws in place that affected both black and brown communities in ways that, to keep your head above water, that's all you had time to do. And there was no moment of and we do the physical check-in, these things can sweep everybody away rather quickly, right? It takes the current action. It takes the response from different spaces to do the thing. And it's a multitude, right? Like here in Houston, it's everything with Salgado Araujo on top of what just happened in Venezuela, on top of what just happened in Guam, on top of what's happening in is it Tennessee, Florida? with Noah Wells, right? Like Nolan Wells, right? All of this is happening all at the same time, and a human being doing what a human being can do. You can focus on one thing to give your energy to. Human nature. I can take care of this immediate thing, but then when we can start to finally come together, those things start to change, and the conversation shifts. Yeah. And I do know that in doing the history on what desegregation looked like in the city, it's allowed me to see how community came together and the missed opportunity that was through no fault of their own. That's the other part that I think people miss, is when pitted against a larger institution, a governmental institution, the laws, the rules, keeping your treading in the water and keeping your head above water, like that becomes that survival
right
instinct.
Because if you move too fast and you do too much, next thing you know, the entire government has you under investigation, and just being in courts dealing with anything will drain your resources, your time, and your effectiveness. And a lot of people have been afraid of that, and also just been afraid of political imprisonment, because we've seen that happen too. So it's
when I talked to Perry and when I talked to Zaydel and a few others, one of the things I'd asked was, had you ever heard of the phrase Juan Crow? Perry giggled. Spencer looked at me like I was cross. She mean you meant Jim Crow? I was like, no, Juan Crow. And she was like, explain that. And it was a sigh of relief. I was like, I'm not crazy. We know it in the Latino Chicano community because of like the twisting and the uniqueness of the situation. So, okay, Lulac says, hey, we're white. White people are like, yeah, okay, great. Twisting their hands. So now we're at the mercy of everything else that's under the rulings and the laws. Court cases are then decided by full white juries where the plaintiff is Mexican. It can still be racist because it falls between the laws, right? All the crack holes of the thing to still slam the door on a different people. So now you have these moments in which you have different communities fighting for similar rights, not knowing that they're fighting for similar rights because they're working in silos, because it is you see it in the arts world. Like when you're applying for a grant, it's competitive. Like we're fighting for the same monies, and it's pennies, it's such pennies. And never once is there a conversation of how do we collaborate? What are you working on that I'm working on? How do we affect one another to do this thing?
Right.
And I think that's part of that, the treading of water, right? Like we're all fighting for the same resources. And in the 70s, Lord, you couldn't tell me that everybody wasn't doing the best they could to try to make the outcomes for their own communities the best thing possible.
And I mean, that was in the 70s is like coming off of the civil rights movement and all the, progressive pushes. And I think we have now the benefit of the historical record and these stories. Like we can understand why many of those human flaws showed up back in the 70s, and these divisions were allowed to exist because we're talking of over 50 years of folks still not evolving their way of thinking and seeing things. And we have the benefit of being able to look back. The youth right now, when we talk about Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they're a lot more tuned into the history of like racism and how it shows up, and it's, micro or macro type of ways. And even the World Cup, they look at the World Cup through a racial lens of understanding colonialism. They see how many African countries are in there, why European countries have more black people on their team, and why Argentina is still squeaky white, right? Like they see these dynamics, they go down the rabbit holes, and they're very aware of the political implications. They see how it shows up in their lives.
The world shifted as well. I was a high school kid in the 90s, and the biggest faux pas growing up in Galveston was if you dated outside your race. Right, but now all my high school students, they interracial couples like crazy, and I just got this big choosy grin on my face, and families accepting one another, and I'm like, whew. And when I describe, they're like, "Mister, what was the big thing when you were a kid?" And I'm like, "Oh, I couldn't date my black girlfriend, or we would get beat up." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Huh." And it doesn't. And I'm grateful that that's not.
That's no longer an issue.
That's no longer an issue, and I'm grateful for that. But look at how that was. You had laws written where interracial marriage or dating or any of that was against the norm. So of course you're only doing the things on your side of town because somebody placed these markers and zones into the space. I should probably give somebody air.
You're fine.
Yeah, no, and I think, having this kind of conversation and moving forward, being able to do it as often as possible. Everything is political, and that's one of the things that Gen Z and Gen Alpha understand very well. Everything's political. They understand how this moment right here is a very politically powerful moment, because if only the Mexican community in Houston decides to mobilize for November, then Republicans have absolutely even less of a chance of winning this. And that's how they're going to look at it, right? That's why everybody comes out with their statements. And Greg Abbott was here not just more than 2 months ago saying that he wants to flip Harris County red.
Yeah.
So we understand now
he's
that
got a war chest for that.
He's got a war chest for that. So
$900 million is estimated.
And then like we start going down the list. Well, this was a conversation just a couple months ago leading into the budget fight. We're talking with Mayor Whitmire and collaboration with ICE, and he stood very firmly that he's on the side of ICE and law enforcement. So now this issue is being revisited because now we see why people were against it. Yes. Even though this did not have to happen for us to know that this is why we should not have ICE in Houston. Yes. So what Mayor Whitmire now has to deal with that voting constituency that he just lost. Even further. And so we have to also uplift the folks who are saying it plainly. Like I was very impressed by how Christian Menifee spoke plainly about and continues to speak plainly about how DHS said there's no body cam footage. They didn't have it because the funds were low. And he said, BS. You have the biggest funding ever, and a body camera is the basic now at this point. That's been disputed over 10 years ago when they started wearing body cameras in all law enforcement, right? Like he is making sure that he's not letting them get away with the narrative that they throw out there to try to counter, right? And then you have Letitia Plummer, who I feel is really speaking to the moment of like, let's not leave each other alone. Like, let's not like go away. Like we need to stay right here. We need to stay with this. We need to harness this together, because if we don't show up for each other, then these battles get that much more tougher.
Go ahead.
Here's what I'm hearing you guys say. You mentioned entanglement and you mentioned alliances. Entanglements can happen by incidental measures from time to time. Sometimes people just wind up being entangled with one another. And so you have to unknot them. Right. And I think after you unknot them, you can then have an alliance that is well thought out and well planned.
Correct.
It's not just happenstance, right?
Right.
As I listened to both of you talk, the other thing that I heard is simply this. Take it from when I was into one of my meetings on addiction and all of those things. One of the credos was simply this: don't compare. Don't compare. Identify.
Right. Correct.
All right.
Correct.
And so when you get comparisons, someone is always going to consider themselves either superior or inferior, and that may be a dramatic way of speaking of it, but they're going to think you have more or they have less, and they can nurse those grievances, right?
Yeah.
So now this brings me to you guys who are talking from two just slightly different generations. Certainly larger span in mine, because we've seen what. We've had examples of blacks and white. The 60s was so potent because of that. Black people and white people in the same place, because the young white kids said, we don't care about that. We want to be in the same place enjoying this music, and they've got a problem in their neighborhoods. We had white kids coming in our community under government-sponsored programs, right?
Right. Yeah.
How do we get that today? And is social media a part of this? You've spoken about the liability of social media.
Absolutely.
Can it foster that, and what does that look like?
I think, unlike spaces like California and New York, Texas is one of the few states where having brown elected officials is a harder pill. We can be the largest population in its public schools. I think like 2 years ago, we were more than 51% of kids in public schools, Latinos in general. But Gina Hinojosa, if she's elected governor, y'all, that's the first time we've ever had a Latino, period.
Right.
We've never had a Latino mayor in Houston. The track record for voting, the track record of being educated, the track record of what these moments look like is more on creating and providing opportunity so that we not only have just community organizers, but that we also then have people in offices that can work from within institutions to move the needle forward, to create programs where there's more coalition building.
To advocate.
Because we can do it on the community side. I had a chill up my spine when I saw Johnny Mata from LULAC standing next to the representative from the NAACP. I have never in my life, I am about to be 50, not that I'm that old, but I have never, and I've been through many an organizing moment. I have never in my life seen on one single cause as fiery as the other on a stage at a press conference without any question and without chest beating, right? I was like, man, this is a particular moment then, like that. I think that things like that need to be named. I think opportunities have started to build, right? Like the number of individuals of color that are in city programs, right? Like the mayor's office has an internship for youth. Up until recently, the majority of the youth that have been picked to be a part of the programs who are considering law or considering politics or considering social justice work have been students of color. Those kinds of programs that allow students to see the city for what it is, I think are important. I consider summer program work, even if
it's so important. Summer programs, like, you know how much you can experience and get done in the summer.
So like, and I give this as a small example, Mecca, right? Multicultural education and counseling for the arts.
Second ward, right?
Sixth. Old Sixth.
Old Sixth.
Mecca does a summer program. Their focus is all arts. Their theme this summer is the Philippines. So all the things that they're planning to do with their program at the end of the summer camp is like Filipino food, Pinoy dance, bottle sounds, and a dance presentation. My kid was a part of the program for like 5 weeks before she went off to the Dominican Republic with her mom. Came home every single day telling me all sorts of facts about the Philippines. It is. They are doing the work of like opening the head and here's some information not about you, and doing that work. And so now you're bridging the gap in different ways through almost osmosis. Like you just give it and let the kid absorb the thing. I think there are the summer programs that exist at Shape Center, at Mecca, at different spots in town. Figure out ways to where this can happen and allow families to be able to attend. If there was a way to even create some financial support from the city or the county to fund even more, I think those are the things that make the most sense, because those are the programming elements that allow students to be seen, kids to be heard, and for them to dream up ways with other people that may or may not look like them. I think those are the stepping stones to start.
Yeah.
I think what we're seeing today out on the barrio, on the blocks, in the streets, seeing people come together, I think that's important. I think it used to be, when I was younger, it was always a faux pas that you wouldn't take kids to rallies or vigils. And I'm actually seeing a lot more elders and vigils at spaces. And to me, one of my mentors, Raul Salinas, a poet out of Austin, que en paz descanse, he passed away years ago. I remember him speaking at an event, and he said, it does me good to see this group here together because it's community. And I can say it's community because you have community when you have elders and you have children. But if you run a space and you don't have either, then don't call it a community event. And I sat my butt down because I was like, I'm a community organizer. And I was like, oh, you ageist punk. Because I was only having events where people were my age. I was like, no.
It's a social club.
It's a social club. We just came, man, dumb. Okay, idiota. Let me, and so I started retooling. And after he said that, like that, it hit heavy. Because, what's a space if it doesn't have experienced voice and the wondering in the same space, right? Like, I think that's the urgency of a thing.
And I think it's definitely part of the work that is evolving. I talk to Paris often now about what's going on in Sunnyside with like the Sunnyside cleanup and how that restoring the community and restoring pride is only going to lead to the next project once they're done with that. We talk about everything from the examples of the Black Panther Party with the free breakfast programs and the escuelitas, the huelga schools, and just like seeing how when we start doing the work on our own and we actually have our community connected through these programs, it would be great to have nonprofits or the actual local government, but we have to vote for that first to get those types of things, right? Be like, here's some resources so you could do this easier, right? And I think the cultural shift is definitely something that we could help create. Is like, all right, now we're going to create this cultural practice that people are really invested in, like community activities. Make it fun, make it as unique as possible because we all have our talents, but like funding those is going to be the key. So I'm down for those programs to be expanded. I know that we're coming close to the hour, and I just wanted to be able to at least go over 2 more points. And, the last one being about your book and its title and where to find it, but also what the family is doing, the Salgado family is doing right now, because there's so many things going on every day as far as information being leaked out. We know that everybody's pushing for investigation, private investigation. That's key. I've seen it now show up on national news, so that's good. More eyes on it, right? It's scrutiny for ICE, because the thing about ICE after Alex Preddy and Renee Good were murdered, they demoted Christy Nome, and then they put in this new guy, Mark Wayne something, Mulligan or something like that. Or whatever. Mullen, there we go. And he said, we're going to be quieter, right? But even before Christy Nome was let go, we already had information that Texas is like the hottest ICE activity in the entire country, where it was going like under the radar, how many people have been detained, put into detention centers and deported. So we definitely have the moment where people are now starting to look at Houston because of this recent incident. And I think what I would like to know is, like, as far as the family goes, what are they asking for? Is there anything that people can at least be in tune with?
What I've heard through the channels and communications, their priority is making sure the family's taken care of, mom's taken care of. There is a GoFundMe sponsored by LULAC. It's raised a ton of dough, but that money is to continue sustaining the family. The youngest brother is in college currently. Mm-hmm. The older 2 brothers are graduated. One's an engineer and the other one's a teacher here in the city. Mm-hmm. Taking care of their mom is priority. Mm-hmm. Getting their father's body so they can bury him is priority. The best way people can help is if you go online, go to LULAC's page on Facebook. They've got the GoFundMe link up. You can donate to their family currently right now, and keep the pressure. I do know that there is going to be where people are going to bum rush City Hall. Mm-hmm. I think Tuesday.
They got the flyer
at 2:00, right? Mm-hmm. To pressure City Council and the mayor to do more. I think that's unnecessary. Mm-hmm. I think in our own spheres and in the conversations, I've been hearing lots of chatter by people saying that hopefully people come out and step out the way in Houston, the way they've done in Minneapolis. And I've had to go and say, hey, these are 2 very different communities.
Very different things.
we are a blue dot in a red state. We will take care of how we can take care of as we need to. But the priority becomes making sure that family and the other 3 families, because least we forget, one died, 3 others were taken away.
Are detained right now. They're witnesses, and
they're working quickly to have them expelled.
Yeah, they want to get them deported as soon as possible. They're trying to rush them through now because their statements will contradict what ICE is claiming happened that day. And that's the thing, is we know that ICE is already lying from the jump. So, it's a very important conversation. I hope to have you back on our show when we get back in, like, not this Wednesday but next Wednesday, and be able to talk some more about what's the political implications, because there's definitely going to be a lot of energy behind rallying, because we're not Minneapolis. Is there somebody's going to ask a question? Sure.
Yeah.
So let's see what we got here.
You put on the speaker, please.
Sure. Hello, caller.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello. Okay, let's do this. We'll get him right back. He's right back now, I guess. Hello, caller.
Hello. I don't know what
okay.
that was.
No, that wasn't you. That was me. That was me at that time.
There.
That was me at that time. I'm getting you on the speaker here. Go ahead, please.
Okay. I love this conversation, and it's unfortunate that it takes things like this to happen before we realize, man, we live in the United States of division. I want to thank the guest there for coming up and speaking about one crow. I had 3 Latino students once that wanted to discuss about police brutality. So I took them outside of the school and we talked in the open element. And the man is definitely right. Change must start with the youth, period. My issue with what's going on, and I want the guest to address this.
Mr. Mendez, Lupe Mendez.
Yeah, Mr. Mendez.
Yes.
I want the schools, when we talk about bringing in groups into the schools, have you all noticed something that when it comes to groups that are allowed to come into the schools and to address the children, for the most part, they are outsiders from our children. They allow in No Place for Hate, which is a Jewish group. Then they also let in white Christian groups. But when it comes to black and Hispanic groups, they want to come in and address our children directly. They don't want to open the doors for that. What do you think about that, sir?
Great question, and thank you for the question. That's a policy choice, right? I can tell you from previously having worked at the district office level, I was a curriculum writer. That's part of the vendor process, right? Like every school district has a process by which, if you're an organization, you can sign up to be a vendor for the school district. And it is a long, thorough process. Mm-hmm. Under this current administration, it's a fast process. But that's because the powers that be have buddies who they can let in to get into schools to do the work that they want them to do.
Right.
And so what it takes, I think, is following the protocol and the basis of the campuses. I think it works from the bottom up instead of the top down. If you have principals in schools who are connected with local community organizations, and they can bring them to be a full day speaker versus classroom visits. Sometimes that's the workaround. I think it's purposeful. Bringing in the groups that you've mentioned before, I've seen that at different campuses. I've experienced when we used to have the DARE program at Cunningham Elementary. I worked on the southwest side of town. That our DARE officer was amazing, and he helped dissuade the kids of the standard thing that we grew up with, was like, don't trust cops. And Officer Love, big, huge, black, 6'2", swole. He would get the kindergarten kids in line, and he would start lifting the kids off the ground, and the kids would count with him.
Yeah.
Just superhero stuff, right? But then he would come to all the older classes, and he's like, hey, y'all run into anything, hear my number. And he would give out his business card.
Right.
And the kids
right.
would, sometimes he's like, can you please tell Malcolm to stop calling me on Wednesday? Because he just wants to talk on the phone. I said, now, again, Cunningham, southwest side of town, it is a predominantly Latino, quarter black space up until Katrina. And then the demographic shifted. But by the time we had, Officer Love was there maybe like a year and a half after Katrina. And then the district chose not to support the DARE program. And the state stopped funding it. So we lost Officer Love.
Wow.
And so then we started getting the opposite end of it, right? The lack of support and then the number of youth things happening, right? If there's a way for campuses to build inroads with community organizations that are actually helping make change in their local communities, it's up to the parent-teacher organizations and the administration in buildings to build that connection to get those community groups into our classrooms, and if not in our classrooms, then our auditoriums.
I'm glad you said that, because that's very important now, because for right now, especially in the Southfield School District and a lot of HISD school districts, they saying they're having a lot of problems with the black and the Hispanic students. And they got to understand, you can't talk to our children. You cannot go here and have no place for hate people to come in and talk to them. They don't understand those experiences. We do. So we should be allowed to come into those schools. So I'm going to start doing like Brother Monroe, go straight to the district and start pushing, bomb rushing the show, so to speak, until we get this done. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much, Derek. You got one other caller here.
Yeah.
Hello, caller.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. Good morning, gentlemen. This is what I want to say, man. I was born and raised here in Houston, Texas. And I'm probably older than you guys, probably 10 years old or something. But, anyway, man, I work with the Mexicans, the Mexicans here in Texas. We call it, you call it Latino now, but, they was known as the Mexican people. And they was some great people, man. I'm going to tell you, I love those Mexican people, man. And this is one thing, man. We got a lady that's running for governor right now that's Hispanic. And what I'm saying is all the black and brown people need to get behind this lady and make that happen. She's a good lady. She's a state representative right now. And we should put our vote, throw our vote behind that lady, man. That would make it right there. That would definitely make it right between our community.
Agreed. Gina Hinojosa is fighting the uphill fight and doing it right. She comes from a long line of trabajadores, working family, and looking to improve the things that have been lacking in the state. I'm hopeful that all our communities can come behind the work that she's doing. It'd be nice to have the state's second governor who's a woman, because,
That'd be great.
And then also, it's understanding too that historically they've taken Barbara Jordan and Ann Richards out of the curriculum.
Yeah, the curriculum, yeah.
And so, this is now more, as to your point, like when we go out and vote, because we're trying to increase the story. Because if not, they're going to get the way of erasing as much of the things that have already been.
I think a great way to wrap up our time here. And thank you, caller. Great way to wrap up our time in our conversation here with you, Lupe, and also preview into like the kind of conversation we're going to be having is how right now James Tellerico and Gina are on the clock for Houston. They're on the clock for Houston. This incident requires a sit down, a conversation, clear statements. Because one thing I am going to be pushing folks is like, don't allow these divisive conversations through politics make us have to take major losses in Houston, Harris County.
Yeah.
Like, look, if Texas State read because Tellerico did not do his job, whatever, it's been read.
Right.
But what we have accomplished here has been the biggest threat for the state, because that's why Abbott keeps trying to push back and flip the county red. So I'm going to encourage everybody. You need to show up for Christian Menifee and Letitia Plummer, who are running this November, because they're making clear statements and they're showing their support, and they already had great policies behind them on everything else that they've already been running on. We need to show up for them. And if these other, we're talking about Gina and talking about Tallarico, are not addressing this moment as needed, then we need to show that we have the power to keep this blue Harris County, and they don't take any of the benefits of it just because they're the Democratic.
Correct.
Because this is the moment where they need to show that folks are, in need of real help and leadership and courage. And, for that requires some organizing on our part, which is part of the conversation here, because we cannot allow this to become a single issue that we don't show up for other communities as well.
Correct.
So,
well said.
So thank you, Lupe. And also, tell us about your book, where to find it, what's titled.
The title of my book, We Exist in the Whisper, Huelga School Verses. It is out now. Thank you to everybody who supported it before. You can find it at Kindred Stories. I'm actually having a book reading there on August 5th. And I will be joined by the lovely Eris Kian, who is the poetry queen of Houston.
And she's also a former Houston Poet Laureate.
Houston Poet Laureate.
So now the laureates Paris.
Right? I hear, yes.
She'll be with me on stage doing all the good work. So if anybody has time, come out to Kindred Stories. You can buy the book there. If you're on the socials, you can follow me at The Poet Mendes.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Of course.
Gentlemen, thank y'all so much.
Thank you. And matter of fact, wave to the camera and say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody who's out there watching. Oh, that's right. People watch. I had my shoulder the whole time.
All right. We thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, sir.
We are the source, everybody. Michael Lawrence Harris up next in just a moment.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
Hi, I'm JJ Walls with Sunnyside Dental, and yes, it's now been over 30 years that we've been providing quality dental care for our patients in the Houston area. It's now come to my attention that many of you that want to come to Sunnyside Dental have Medicare plans that we don't accept. Hold up, that has got to change. Sunnyside Dental is now accepting most Medicare dental plans. WellCare, Liberty, United Healthcare, Cigna, Kelsey Care Advantage, Amerigroup, Aetna, and many more. We're getting on board. Call Sunnyside Dental at 713-738-1999. If you have Medicare and would like to receive the personal touch provided by Sunnyside Dental, call us at 713-738-1999. We look forward to helping you achieve the smile that you can't wait to share with the world.
Got Medicare dental benefits? Call Sunnyside Dental 713-738-1999.
Remember when $100 filled a grocery cart? Today, it barely gets you started. If you're retired or planning to retire soon, you may be concerned about how inflation could impact your future income. Inflation doesn't retire when you do. Everyday necessities continues to rise. The question is, will your retirement income keep pace? You may have spent decades building retirement savings, but retirement isn't just about what you've accumulated, it's about what you can spend. Inflation can impact purchasing power and create challenges for retirees living on fixed incomes. At Advanced Wealth and Retirement Planning Concepts, we help individuals evaluate retirement income strategies and explore options that may help support their financial goals. Call today for your complimentary retirement income review.
Retirement doesn't come with a do-over. Whether retirement is around the corner or already here, now is a great time to review your plan. Schedule your complimentary retirement strategy session today by calling 832-402-8367. Investment advisory strategies offered through TLG Advisors Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor. No tax or legal advisement is given.
This is Gilbert Andrew Garcia of A Tip from Gilbert. Talk, inspiration, and prayer. Listen to my show every Monday from 11 to 12 on KWWJ 1360 AM, KYOK 1140 AM, KCOH at 1230kcoh.com, Sankeet Radio at 95.1 FM, 1460 AM, and Latino Sports, KEYH 850 AM. Call in at 832-570-8075 and follow me on social media. See you then.
A tip from Gilbert, Mondays 11 a.m. on 1230 KCOH, The Source.
Are you looking for a pharmacy where you're more than just the next person in line, where the pharmacists are friendly, willing to talk to you about your prescriptions and over-the-counter medications, where they make deliveries to customers in the general area? Then you need my pharmacy of choice, Mercury Drive Pharmacy, 918 Mercury Drive, right off of I-10 East near the 610 Loop. James Muldrow and his staff are there to serve you. I've been a customer for over 37 years. The insurance companies have tried to steer me to the corporate pharmacies, but I prefer Mercury Drive. It's a staple in East Houston, serving Fidelity, Jacinto City, Pleasantville, Fifth Ward, North Shore, Wood Forest, Galena Park, Channel View, offering free delivery to those areas and others. Most insurances are accepted. Mercury Drive Pharmacy is open Monday through Saturday for your convenience. Phone 713-674-6122, 713-674-6122. Mr. Muldrow and his staff are happy to serve you. Mercury Drive Pharmacy, 918 Mercury Drive, south of I-10 East.
Everybody's talking about the high price of eggs. Well, I don't know much about eggs, but I tell you this. If you want great chicken at a great price, how about Chicken Plus, 6210 North Wayside? Let's hear what his customers are saying. Michelle writes, Chicken Plus has some of the best fried chicken and best fried okra in the city. We stay about 45 minutes away, but the drive is definitely worth it. E. Max says, the chicken is seasoned so well and every bite has a special crunch. It's my go-to chicken spot when I want homemade fried chicken that's always good. Now that's what I'm talking about right there. Great fried chicken, okra, rice and gravy, desserts. You're going to find it all at Chicken Plus, 6210 North Wayside. You don't have time to make the drive? Hey, no problem, no problem. You can order Chicken Plus on DoorDash and Uber Eats. You better do what you got to do to get your hands on some of that great fried chicken, the best fried chicken in the city. Great chicken at great prices. That's Chicken Plus. See you there.
Yes, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Chicken Plus. Chicken Plus. Went out and I got Chicken Plus indoctrinated 2 weeks ago. Well, a week before last went out. It was a cool thing to do. I enjoyed it. What else I enjoy is this, is being with the top jock at noon, Monday through Friday. And this Monday is no exception. I've got him right here with me. Michael Lawrence Harris, top jock, Hall of Famer, beloved husband of the lovely and talented Yvonne Harris, father to Alessandra. Got them all in. Hello, caller. Hello. No, not caller. You're not calling.
Hello, Michael.
Hello, Michael. Hello,
you
Michael.
got everything right, but
if I could just separate you from the caller, that would have been better. That would have been strong.
No, if you would have said today was Friday instead of Monday, that would have been strong. It is Friday.
It's Friday. All right. Okay, Friday.
Boy, you can tell somebody who's been working too much.
Well, that hamster's on that wheel. He's going around. But now he's trying to run horizontal. That's the problem.
Remember the days of the week.
Yeah,
like
buddy.
the Beatles song. Remember 8 days a week?
8 days a week. Oh, speaking of that, did you hear the new the Rolling Stones album? They've got an album called Foreign Tongues. I heard a cut from it this morning. It's still rocking out. It's still rocking out. I mean, it's a collection of work, very similar to what they did, which means it's rocking. It's great drumming, guitar. It's a touch of blues, touch of I don't know. They got an Amy. What's the woman's name? Amy Winehouse that they did.
Didn't she?
Oh, she did, but they got a cover version of one of her hit songs. Yeah.
Yeah, but a name like Winehouse, you don't expect to live very long anyway.
Oh boy, I tell you.
Hey,
yeah.
Put down your whiskey bottle, your wine bottle too.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the news right now as well, and they say a man has been found shot to death inside of his vehicle. They haven't said exactly. Well, I can't say I can't hear what they're saying because I have the television down. But man, Houston is tough, and they just announced that Judge Hidalgo has been diagnosed with mononucleosis.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know, what is mononucleosis?
I don't know. Is that the one? I can't recall. Is that the one they called the kissing disease or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I was trying to figure. I wonder who was she kissing?
I don't know. The youngsters had a song out a little while back, "The Kissing Game." High Five, I think it was, called "The Kissing Game." Good song too. Hit record. So.
But I tell you one thing. If you want to be in the news, become a black politician, or a brown politician, or a red politician, or a yellow politician.
Yeah.
They will find some way to get you on the news, and most of the time it ain't good news.
Yeah, they certainly will, won't they?
Yeah. It's really something. And for all the politicians out there who happen to be ethnic minorities, and that's anybody who ain't white or trying to pass, just know you got to cover your past. Take the P off of it, okay? Because they're coming after you, baby. And the thing that I wanted to mention is the no body cams for the ICE agents and, of course, the unmarked automobiles. So how in the heck are you supposed to know these people who are chasing you are law enforcement officers of some sort? I don't even know if they're really law enforcement. They're just not vigilantes. Remember when, basically, you might want to call them, what do they call the guys who came after us in slavery? Slave hunters? What were they?
Oh, you talking? Well, they call them. What did they call them? All I know is they were fugitive. No, not fugitives, because slaves weren't. The enslaved people weren't actually after fugitives after they broke away. But what do they call them?
Slave hunters. I thought so.
Okay, could be. Yeah, could be. But yeah, maybe that was.
But what do you think the Hispanics have done to make the Republicans want to hunt them down like they're dangerous killers carrying infectious diseases? What's up? I guess that's the question. Because
the need to whiten the country, I think, is a simple way to put it. It may be much too simple, but that is part of it. They're living the kinds of lives, some of them, many of them, through no fault of their own, but they are living the kind of lives that make them convenient targets, not by their choice always, but certain people are targets for the political. They are grist for the political mill. You know, they make good copy. They make good story for a politician, for a certain type of politician. So if you've always got, they make good targets, just like people on we used to call it welfare. People on snaps make targets for certain groups, and for some people, for some politicians, the color of your skin lends itself to the kind of narratives that they are pushing to get them elected. That's as best that I can make out.
Now, I'm not saying this, trying to be racist or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you run off all the Hispanics, who's going to do our yards?
Yeah, or pick our fruit, or pick our fruit, or any another.
Yeah.
Or there are other businesses that have folded up because the immigrant labor force.
And who's going to cook our real Mexican food?
And who's going to sit with and who's going to sit with our elderly? Do you know that these Haitian immigrants do a large part of healthcare work? And they actually have been here for these people. Some of these people have been here for 10, 20 years, and they have become a part of some other people's daily routine. They couldn't go to work if they didn't have anybody to stay home with their elderly, or sometimes with their kids. And when those people start staying home, it starts showing up in our workforce. Food left in the field sometimes, but in healthcare, who's going to remind you? Who's going to be there to remind your aunt or your grandma, your granddad, or some other person who's in need to take their medicine on time? And see, these are things that matter. These are things that matter at another level.
Yeah, they do matter. Really, they do. And are they trying? I don't get it. I really don't. If you've not committed, if your crime is being here and undocumented, it would seem like the thing that you would do is to say, look, we know you want to be here, so if you we'll develop a program for you to achieve, your citizenship. Now, of course, if you have been engaged in criminal activity, which, I guess they say you're being here without your papers is a criminal activity, but if you've not committed any violent crimes or something, and you're here,
it's a civil infraction. It is, people. You are right. That is the argument that you will hear sometimes. They violated the law, but there are levels of criminality. We acknowledge that all the time. Petty offenses. It's written into the law. It's written into the law. There are types of offenses: Class B, Class C, felonies, and what's a misdemeanor, and those things. So people violate the law. People are going to do that, but they all don't deserve the death penalty. I think, as I've heard you say, and I think that's right. They don't deserve the death penalty.
But again, what is wrong with running from somebody who appears to be chasing you in an unmarked vehicle or a number of vehicles? How do you know who they are? Are we just supposed to stop for anybody who chooses to follow us?
Well, yeah, in New York, remember stop and frisk? You had to stop. You had to, even if they didn't have any reason. Now, I know that goes against the Constitution, and the courts ultimately ruled that they had to quit that. They had to quit that. But now it seems to be okay. Nobody's. When I say okay, I'm speaking tongue in cheek. Now you don't hear it in the case of ICE because some people want that.
Okay, well, at least they should supply them with body cameras that have to be on 24/7.
Yeah.
Because we've seen videos, at least two of them, where they claim that these people were at risk when they killed the white people up there in, where was that? On the East Coast.
Minnesota, when they killed Pretty and Good, I think it was. Yeah, they killed both of those people.
Well,
and they've killed some others
pretty
too.
Good too, huh?
So what, buddy?
I said that memory of yours is pretty good too.
Well, Mike, I have to read it every day almost, right? So,
okay.
So that's what's happening. That's what's happening.
Okay, but when you see the video on both of them, they were unjustified. But have you noticed they're falling off the radar?
Oh yeah.
Has anybody been held accountable?
No, and they took remember this now, Michael, they held the evidence as well. Remember they initially cleared in the initial shooting? They removed the evidence and did not participate in an investigation. They stopped an investigation. The federal government did. Yeah. That's some of what's going on.
I'm about to commit murder. There's a fly.
Well, before they haul you off, you've got callers here who might want to.
I just wondered, was who was it wasn't Boris Karloff. It was the one with the mustache who started to fly.
Vincent Price.
Vincent Price, right?
Yeah.
Now, if that's Vincent, I'm gonna get you. If you're not Vincent, my goal is to get you. There's gonna be one dead spot.
Oh man, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
But I did want to say this.
Yes, sir.
Before we go.
Yes, sir.
Are we or are we not? Is everything now about money? They started doing these things with the portable phones and stuff that supposedly will hook up to the satellites up in the sky and all this.
Mm-hmm.
Is this just a part of marketing and trying to sell those things, or do we really have something to fear? I just wanted your opinion on that. Are we one day or 1 week or 1 month away from Armageddon?
I would think so. I think that's true. That's true now, because it certainly got the means to commit something that approximates Armageddon with the nuclear material, and we're always trying to keep safeguards on it. I think the means already exist. I think they are improving upon the means. I was impressed and surprised when they talked about the Air Force One having a shield around it in case a weapon approached it. I mean, it made sense. I didn't know they had developed a way to do that, but it certainly made sense that they would develop something like that. And that's just why the president had to go back to that plane, right? Because the new plane didn't have that. But they've got capabilities. They've got research weapons they're working on now that we didn't know a thing about. When I was in basic training, they had shown us night glasses. They called them night glasses, but they actually operated off thermal heat. And it was a while before we saw that as civilians. But the Defense Department is always working on stuff that's futuristic, and that's just one of the areas. But yeah, I think that the means are out there, and some of it's not just bombs; it's what do you call it, Michael? Biochemicals. Yeah. Look at COVID, right? Somebody in a lab somewhere. I'm not saying it was the U.S. Army or the U.S. military even. I'm saying, but that's warfare stuff you see. You release that stuff, that's warfare, man. Not everybody. That's warfare, just like cyber warfare. You can starve a town or a village to death. So yeah, and it would look like Armageddon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to
on that cheery note, huh?
Yes.
Hello, caller. You're on with the top jock, the Hall of Famer, my man, Michael Lawrence Harris.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now flying the friendly skies of black sunshine.
All right. Hello, sunshine.
35,000 feet, and yes, that stewardess is looking pretty good, but you're not in first class, so she won't spend her time with you anyway. But I wanted to tell you something, Paris. Herb Alpert just played the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
90 years old.
Yeah.
My friends in L.A., I wished I was there to see that, man. Have said it was one of the best concerts that they've ever been to in their entire life.
I just thought about you this morning as I was talking to Michael about this morning when I heard the Rolling Stones thing. I said, I wonder if Black Sunshine is aware of that the Rolling Stones have this album.
Well,
but I wanted to get that out there. Go ahead now.
Yeah, I know. I got busted in L.A. Coliseum and everything. I won't say what for and everything during the Rolling Stones Steel Wheel tour. I saw them twice. I saw Keith Richards in The Expensive Wino with Steve Jordan. You've heard of Steve Jordan, the drummer. He was he was playing there at that Universal Amphitheater over in, over the hill, and I went and met Keith Richards at Tower Records. And,
okay, yeah, on Sunset.
Yeah,
on Sunset. Yeah.
Yeah. That was, total legend.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. But yeah, because I'm a big Stones fan. I was really into them when I was younger. They were one of those people. The Stones will tell you they used to order, blues records from the United States that were made out of acetate and walked around with those things because they would break, and they walked around with them like they were precious cargo.
Yeah. Well, you called to talk to the Top Jock, but I just heard that song this morning. Thought about you. Said that when I heard you on the phone, I was going to ask you about it. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was going to. That's one of the things I want to tell you about. And then we have to get into a point of contention. Dun, 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 dun. Is anybody listening to the plight of and the experience of the Black working class man? I'm talking people who work in hospitality, people who work in manufacturing, people who work in the trades, people who drive trucks, people who do all kinds of labor in which you don't. Has anybody asked them what they thought about this with the illegal immigrants? You mentioned all of these groups, and all of these groups turned their back on us and voted for this. We've got high gas prices. We've got a crazy war in Iran that no one knows where that's going to head up. We've got high food prices. We've got the repeal of the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act. We got a president that's sitting up here depicting black people as monkeys. And I voted for Harris. They didn't because she was Harris. So you tell me, what am I supposed to do now? What am I supposed to do with that? Run out and jump in that churning water and save them? I feel the same way, and I feel the same way about black people that voted for Trump too. Good luck. Don't let me see you walking down the side of the road when it's raining, pal. You're finding out how close I can drive to a curb.
Well, the scripture says that we are to do unto others as we would have them do unto us.
That applies to them too.
Okay, but I'm just saying that we have not always made good decisions. Look at Clarence Thomas and so many other Negroes, colored, who have been brainwashed or who just simply sold out for the money or whatever the heck they wanted. But the goal is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Well, at some point, how many times can somebody slap you in the face? We had the Push Coalition. We had the Rainbow Coalition. So many times we have reached out and tried to do that because we would really have some power in this country. These people, I hate that's wrong to say, Hispanics voted for Donald Trump, and especially the men, overwhelmingly against their own interests. What am I supposed to do with that?
They didn't think it was against their interests. They were foolish enough to believe that they were of value. Or sometimes, don't forget, there are a lot of black people who hate black folk.
Well, like I said, don't let me catch you driving down the side of the road when it's raining, because you'll find out how close I can drive to the curb. They were told, Michael. Kamala Harris told them, we have been telling people, and it's not just them. We've even got Africans that come over here and have, and people from Africa that come over and have contempt for us. The Somalis have had contempt for us. And now everybody's walking around looking stupid and everything going like this. And we're the ones that are paying for it because we're at the front. We're at the front of the line for their wrath. And I'm sorry. And Paris was talking about.
May I ask why you say we're at the front of the line for whose wrath?
The wrath of the Republican Party, and in a de facto way, it seems the wrath of the immigrants, because they're the ones that voted for the Republicans. If I'm sitting up here getting rid of friends of mine, family members, thank God I don't have any family members, but people that are the same as me, and other people are getting rid. We were just talking about that the other morning. People are getting rid of their family members because they support this idiot, this racist, crook, pedophile in office. If and I'm the same way, because frankly, it all makes sense to me now. It all makes sense, and that's what I got to say. And nobody is worried about that brother, that sister that's riding a 44 to some job somewhere, not getting paid enough, getting overworked. And I can tell you, man, I've sat here and thought about all the jobs that I've had to deal with a bunch of immigrants, and no, I was not welcome. And me and the other black guys that were there and everything. Oh man, the safety meeting was in Spanish. That was nap time for us, or that was time for me to catch up on my emails. So what am I supposed to do with that? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, they did it.
Well, since I was here for that part of the show, and since you name checked me, let me respond to you this way.
I was talking about the night vision stuff.
Okay, sure. No, I understand that. No, I'm good. Look, here's the deal. The question for you and me and people like us, people like me and you, to recognize the 40% of the people you're talking about, if we're to believe the numbers on voting, the returns, 40% of the Hispanics or thereabouts. Maybe it's even some over. Let's be generous.
No, sir.
Yes. Hold on. Okay. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Hispanic males voted what?
Hispanic males voted for Donald Trump 57%.
Okay, so it's 57%. So it's 57%. So what happens to the remaining? What is it? 23%. Well, I mean, listen. Because there's a number of people. There are a number of people who have already said they voted for them. Which is wiser? Which is wiser? Writing the entire 100% off, right off to 27%, because there is an opportunity. Sometimes everything ain't about coercion. Some things have to be about persuasion. And if you don't have an argument to persuade another person who has free choice to come your way, then you've done yourself more harm than you have anybody else. We certainly don't, on our own. Let's get angry. All of the things we talk about, there's room for all of that emotion because it can power a thoughtful approach is the way I see it, Sunshine. Yeah, they did. They're black. Look, they are black people. I talked to some of them. All right, and God bless them. I love them, right? And you know what? If there's a way that I can persuade them through reason, or just simply hope that they'll see things my way. But if they don't, I'm not accusing everybody who votes differently than I do of trying to destroy me. All right, and me, even if I accuse them of that, me being wanting to consign them to hell is not going to change my immediate situation. So I got to look for some other people who I can win over. I think that's the way you fight back and see who I can get, if we're talking about voting, to vote the way that I want to. That's all. And I don't even get into forgiving people or not forgiving them. That ain't even a part of it. That doesn't figure into my psychology. That's not how I think about politics in terms of forgiving. I think about what is practical, what is good, what can I do? Do I accomplish my goal? I got to have a business mindset. I got to have my emotions will lead me somewhere else. It's not rule or ruin for me. It's not, if I can't have it, let's burn the whole damn thing down, because there may be another way to keep the thing, and just leave those people out there on an island by themselves.
Well, this is the thing is with me, because that's all fine and everything. If we had maybe 10 or 15 years, I think we got about 6 months in this country before and it could just all be over with. Literally 6, or we're going on really 5 months in this country, for things to go. And you were talking about,
well, how does having 5 months though lengthen your time? If I only had 5 months, if I really truly thought I only had 5 months, I'm not going to spend my time fighting with somebody. Okay,
I'm not fighting with anybody. I got something that you were talking about and everything. I went and got myself a set of thermo/night fusion goggles.
Okay, that's why you say you have the night fusion thing. Okay.
No, I got my thermal night fusion goggles, and I never had to think of that before. Never had to think of that before, and everything. All these preppers and stuff look crazy or whatever, but Okay,
I got Michael on there. I'm on his time, really. I'm on his time, but I just want to do that. And you can call me and we can talk about this some more Monday, because there are going to be other conversations about it. What with the immigration being on Front Street right now, particularly, we get down to it. Okay.
Yeah, on November 4th, the day after my birthday, there's going to be a lot of talk about it if we don't win, buddy.
Okay, but, all right. Okay, caller, you're on with Top Job.
Hey, Michael, you remember Sweet Daddy Williams on Good Times? Sweet Daddy Williams would tell JJ, JJ, boy, you in trouble. Michael, if you ain't the first caller on these talk shows, boy, you in trouble. Oh! Hey, but check it out, man. I just try to be considerate of other people that's on hold. So, because everybody loves Michael Harris and Paris Eley. Just be considerate. But, Michael, Mr. and, Reverend Ozan, Sister Ozan, Michael Nash, Miss Rejoice and Miss Regina, and a few more others at the Marcy Keys Activity Center, 8302 Colonial. I told them the day you was back on the radio, they said they didn't know it, but they all told me to tell you they miss you and they glad you back on. Every Friday, I'm up at the Activity Center, out there in the hood with the black folks, with the food bank. We be passing out groceries, potatoes, watermelon, celery, everything, to the poor people. And
well, if you see me coming, pray for me.
yeah. They didn't know you was back on, man. But they happy you back on. They gave you a shout out. Pastor Matt, the late Pastor Jimmy Nash, church, St. Paul Missionary Baptist. They had a little shooting over there last Friday, and Reverend Ozan, his tires got shot out, his window got shot out. They had a shooting. Because somebody got killed in Katy, and the person that they thought did the shooting came over to the funeral last Friday and shot up the place. But thank God, nobody got hurt. But people mad at Junior. Hey, but check it out, Mike. This is what I want to get on, because you got other callers. Okay, Mike, when I say doom and gloom, I just don't see it, Michael. Just like today when I was working with white folks, Spanish folks, black folks, Indian folks, we all was there for a common cause. Everybody was getting along. Everybody was happy, cracking jokes, just working together, man. That's the America I see. I just don't see all this gloom and doom. Everybody saying that Donald Trump. I mean, man, gas prices was high when Mr. Obama was in office. Food was high when Mr. Obama was in office. We had wars when Mr. Obama was in office. I mean, up under every presidential regime, we've had issues, but people just so fixated on Donald Trump. And what get me, and I'm going to shut up, Michael, what get me, oh, yeah, Miss Annie Wright, she listened. She told me to get out 2 Black Sunshine. She liked Black Sunshine. I just don't see all this doom and gloom, man. I mean,
Well,
and that's the reason. That's the reason I don't go to church no more, because it's the church folks that do the most crime. They never talk about I would trust in the Lord. Don't fear him that could destroy the body. Fear him to destroy both body and soul in hell. But all they talk about is Trump.
Well, do you? No, that's not true.
I'm listening.
Okay, so that's not true. We're not just talking about Trump. We're talking about
what?
We're talking about politics in America. Trump is not politics in America. We're talking about his followers, the people who, and his, I guess you could say the people who bought and paid for him. Because don't forget, they've put billions of dollars in his pocket. And so, no, the problem is not Trump. The problem is us. The problems are us. That we are so divided in this country that we still believe in white supremacy.
I don't think so, but go ahead.
Okay, well, if you don't think they believe...
That's just my opinion. You got to write to yours.
Okay, that one minute you say go ahead, then I start talking and you start talking again.
No, go ahead, but I ain't mad at you.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad at you either. But how can we have a discussion?
Go ahead. I'm listening, Mike. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
When the other person's doing all the talking, that's not a discussion. That's election. The thing is, we see it. We are experiencing it. If you would look at the numbers and maybe stop reading the MAGA-dominated media, listening to the MAGA-dominated media, you would know the truth about what is happening. How many people of color, blacks and browns, and anyone who happens not to be white, have lost their jobs because the current Republican Party is against diversity, equity, and inclusion. They have convinced themselves that they are superior to everyone else and they are entitled to anything that they want. This is their country. And if we don't like it, get out. We have no room for you. Wait, now, I listen to you. Can I finish? Thank you. You look at the number of people who happen to be black and brown and other ethnic minorities that the Trump administration has fired. In fact, they sent Elon Musk and other people out there to get rid of as many minorities as they could. Now they are allowing you to, what do you call that? When you draw maps so that only white people can win. What do they call that, Paris?
Redistricting or what?
No, it's not redistricting. That's what they call it, but it's really almost like gerrymandering to make sure that certain people win. And they're not doing this for black people unless they are, Clarence Thomas. Got to remember the Tom part.
A good man. Go ahead. A good man. Go ahead.
If you say so, you have a right to your opinion. And all I'm doing is giving you my viewpoint. And
okay, Mike.
Again, Matt.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Okay. They have shown us who they are, and we have to show them who we are. We are not.
Okay, Mike. I'm sorry. I thought you were too. Go ahead.
No, we are not going to just sit back and say, yes, sir, boss. You run it your way, boss. And I'm not going to be Samuel Jackson in
Django.
Django.
You let that.
I can't do that.
What the hell? Anyway. Yeah, I heard the other day. But this is what I want to say, Mike, and I'm gonna move on because other folks trying to get in. When I call in, they call and attack me. One guy made an idle threat the other day. I won't say it to his face. Negro, please. Most important thing to me is my grandson and my son and my mom and dad. The rest of them can kiss my black you-know-what. But this is what I want to say, Michael. If you depending on black folks to come out and vote, now, KCOH, it's the preaching to the choir crowd. We get it. But the majority of these young Negroes out here, they not thinking about voting. They don't care nothing about what's going on. all they worrying about is jacking somebody when they leave the ATM or a team takeover. That's what they got on their mind. But Junior is the bad guy. I love Donald Trump. I pray for Donald Trump. He the man in charge. I don't agree with everything Donald Trump do, but I pray for the man. Don't you say on Sunday, love and pray for your enemies, love and pray for them that despitefully use you? But that just sounds good on Sunday. It's other callers, Michael. I love you, man. We'll pick it up. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, all right. I'm not saying that I want to see Donald Trump dead, but I'm not going to support someone who I know has no love and support for me. I can pray for them that their hearts be changed, but if they continue in their wicked ways, I hope that he has a special spot in hell.
All right. Hello, caller. 713-668-1230. 713-668-1230. You can talk with the top jock this afternoon. Hello, caller.
Yeah, I want him to advertise. but
hey, Michael.
If he continues,
Michael Harris, Michael Harris, I told you about 20 years ago. Say, man, you need to get you a mini me. That way you say it wasn't me. I didn't say it, but I just want to say, Michael, when Skipper Lee Frazier told you come out the country, Michael, and come to H-Town, and then you and don't be so hard on doggone what's the boy's name, doggone Uncle Tom and doggone the Supreme Court judge guy, and then you gonna come out the country, Michael, and go to the University of Houston, and you could have went to TSU, nigga. Bye. Thank you, Michael.
The Texas Southern University did not have the facilities that the University of Houston had. And one of the things that we've always talked about in education, especially in southern states, is how well equipped they are. Remember, I was at Carthage High School for my senior year rather than Turner. We had 14 manual typewriters and 1 electric typewriter. In my senior year, I wanted to learn how to use that electric typewriter, but they only had 1. So I went over to Carthage High. And as I tell that story, they didn't have any manual typewriters. They had all electric. But what they said was separate but equal. That was separate, Paris. Was it equal when they had none?
Nope, that's right. It wasn't equal. It was not equal.
But it was separate.
It was separate.
Until they were forced to let us come.
Yeah.
And it was not easy. You know, I can't tell you how many times people, I guess, wanted to accuse me of looking at the girl. Yeah, I was looking at him. I'm a man. What you expect?
I'm a man.
Yeah, M-A-N.
M-A-N. You and Bo Diddley. I'm a man. I'm a man. Yeah. You got another caller.
I'm listening.
Hello, caller. Michael's listening.
Yo, I'm going to say this real quick, because I know time's getting short. But you ever stop to consider that all this overt racism and a lot of other, let's just say, so much of this surface level assessment of human beings, character, whatever, is actually a process of elimination? Now, I know that sounds hard to put it that way, but think about it.
But eliminating what?
And in other words, what I'm saying is that people are willing to make full assessment of everything they want to call right or wrong based upon just what they see on the surface. That's a very shallow pattern of thought. Think about Isaiah 11. You should not judge what his eyes see, nor what it is here. Acts 3:18-23 says he's going to judge mankind according to everything spoken by the prophets since the world began. Now, that's a heavy concept. I think what's happening here, long story short, I know what's happening here. Scriptures talk about things getting worse and worse before judgment. Okay? Mm-hmm. And the reason for it is this, because when the Most High decided to wipe away the mess, He wants to wipe it all away without a, let's just say, debate or doubt in terms of, let's just say, haze areas that were like a sharp two-edged sword, discerning the thoughts and intents of the heart. Either we want the whole truth or we don't want the truth at all. And the truth of the matter is this. When we get right down to it, there's something that there's actually written in Scripture, and I can tell you exactly where you can find it. But most of them don't get this. Anytime you create a superficial idea of righteousness, like I said, one scripture says they have a great zeal but not for full discretion. There's scriptures that actually relate that is a capital and many times unforgivable sin. Listen to what I'm saying. Anytime someone creates a hegemonic construct that traps minds not to seek beyond, let's just say, man-made institutions, you might well call them idolatries or whatever, anyone who does such a thing and does not seek to make up for what's necessary for all to be free, the scriptures actually relate that as, hey, no atonement for that sin, because there's no one unity of the people after a multitude of superficial alliances and allegiances.
Okay.
But how many of us seem to understand that today?
Well, my question to you is simply this. One of the scriptures I remember very well is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Do you think?
Can I say this, Michael?
Well, may I finish asking my question? May I finish asking my question, please? Do you think that those persons who discriminate against people based on their skin color, their national origins, their sexual orientation, etc., do you think they would like to be treated the way that they want to treat other people?
Real simple, Michael. There is a monotheist mindset that primarily, I guess, this polytheist Western pluralist society doesn't understand. In the Hebrew mind, when they talk about love and doing unto others as we would do unto you, the Hebrew word is not agape, which has no love for a divine absolute. The Hebrew word is Abba. And most people are totally unfamiliar in this society as to what it means. Because it means that to love, you must seek not only the liberation of your own mind, but the liberation of all minds beyond every obstacle with a pure, perfect love for the fullness of divine will. That concept is purely monotheistic. But we live in a society, fusion itself should never be something with which we are satisfied. Because how can a mind that's indiscriminate be true to the maker? That's why what Book of Yaakov they call
that is not. But you're not answering my question. It's very simple. Do you think that the people who have done such horrible things to other people for their dominance would want that done unto them? And if they aren't doing
they're not considerate, Michael. That in itself is a sin. No, of course they don't want to be done as they did others. And quite frankly, anyone who is truly righteous wouldn't want to do anyone, even as a punishment, some of the atrocities that have been done against.
But don't the members of the Ku Klux Klan carry the cross and all of that when they go to burn people and lynch people? Haven't they convinced themselves that they're doing God's will somehow, or do they just not give a damn?
I think some people are very, very gullible, Mike. I'll just make a long story short. Quite frankly, if you read the scriptures closely, one thing you will find is this. It will be found as a sudden shock, and I can tell you the list of scriptures that says this, whether people are ready for it or not. That when Messiah returns, he's going to tell folks that none of this stuff is, none of the way people have twisted his words or corrupted his words after their limited understanding is violent. That's why the scripture says those who believe in him, he gave them power to become sons Okay, get the point. Nicodemus was a leader in Israel. And if the leader in Israel didn't understand these things, and he told him he needed to be born again or see beyond the opposition and confusion of man, what do you think he's going to tell the rest of the world? The problem is, at this point in time, people actually believe the Savior licenses man's corruption. And if you can believe the Savior,
Michael, what time is that? Michael?
You are corrupt.
Michael?
Yes, sir.
Anybody believe that?
Yeah, what time y'all
Okay.
passing the
Don't believe
basket?
creative sanctions corruption.
Michael, what time are y'all passing the basket?
Thank you for your call, Ed. Mr.
Michael, yeah, wait, how can you ignore me, Michael?
Huh? I'm not ignoring you.
I asked, I wanted him to, what time y'all passing the basket?
Well, realize the statement of the corruption. Look at Revelation.
Revelations.
Don't add.
Revelation on a Friday night. Revelations on a Friday night with hitting happy hour around about 5:30, 6 o'clock, and having a great time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, like I said.
All right, y'all gonna have to cut this one short today.
In Paris?
Yeah, Ed's gonna have to cut that one short. We got Michael. We got a couple of other callers here for you before we get out of here, and I think they want to
like the song. Yes, I'm ready.
I bet.
To learn.
I bet you are. Hello, caller. You're on. Go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. I don't want to cut into Ralph is the show here.
Yeah, you know.
But,
yeah.
You know. But you know,
Little Ralphie Bible study.
You go back. No, man, I ain't gonna go there. Okay. You know, it's so evident with the racism and the white supremacy that is so evident in this world today. And when Lydia came on, she talked about the jobs report, and I remember Ralph putting out the wealth gap, the wealth gap between the cultures, and we are on the bottom. The patent, we're on the bottom. We got what was it? 1% of the people, black people that are awarded patents. So you got callers talk about how white supremacy. Until we understand this white supremacy thing and how to combat it, how to fight it, we're still going to be fighting the same things over and over. And my question is, Michael, you've been around a long time with me, and I'm from Galveston. Okay, my people are Scurries in there in Galveston. I don't know if you know any Scurries down there in Galveston, but how, in your opinion, we got to start with the young people, and how do we reach these young people to understand? First of all, we got to let them understand where it's coming from, the culture, the history of it. But how do we reach them so they can understand it? And I'm gonna hang up, and I'll listen to your comment.
Well, don't hang up. We'll make it quick.
Oh, he did drop. He left.
He did drop.
He did drop. Yeah.
Probably quick anyway.
Yeah.
Probably quick in everything he does.
Big Red.
Look, we have to have. Well, I guess those of us who become rich, they have to reinvest and be willing to reinvest in our communities. And those who support us have to be willing to invest as well in our communities, because you cannot get blood out of a turnip. Most of us, even me, now that I'm old, I had no idea. I thought when you got old and wasn't working anymore, they wouldn't come at you nearly as hard as they do, but they never stop. Prices